Chapter 8:15. Everything is over for you. If you have a next life, remember to reincarnate as a good person. In the haze, Sher Shah could vaguely hear Chen Guang's cold snort. His body had completely shattered, but he nodded in his consciousness. Yes, thank you. If there is a next life, I want to be a truly good person. Sher Shah's voice gradually deepened. This soul that had suffered so much finally disappeared completely. Chen Guang lowered his head and looked at the exceptionally bright fruit candy in his palm. He couldn't speak for a long time. This fruit candy was about the size of a glass bead. It was bigger than all the crystal cores from before. But what really caught his attention was the drop of water beside it. This was a tear? The faraway punishment world was already gradually shattering. The clouds and the deep blue sky behind it, which he didn't know if they were real or not, turned into pieces like broken glass. The Barrel Mountain Range, which was so tall that it reached the clouds, started to collapse bit by bit. Before the rubble fell to the ground, it turned into invisible powder, and then turned into the purest energy, completely dissipating without leaving a trace. This fake punishment world, that was created to test him, had completed its mission. It was going to disappear completely. Chen Guang didn't care about the world that was changing. He just looked at the drop of water and the crystal core in his palm blankly. He took a deep breath. Forget it. He had already killed it. Anyway, it was destined that he couldn't coexist with the shattered world. Whether it was his punishment world or everything else in the shattered world, they were all gone. He clenched his fist tightly. The last bloodline of the shattered world Saint tribe, the crystal core formed by the final weapon, Sher Shah, disintegrated completely. It turned into the purest energy and was absorbed by him, like all the other crystal cores in the past. The speed at which the punishment world was collapsing increased. It spread from afar to where Chen Guang and the others were standing. Xianqin was so shocked that she shouted, "The end of the world is coming!" Lu Fei placed all her attention on Chen Guang. She comforted, "It's okay. Look at how calm he is." Wu Miaowan nodded as well. The great Magus director didn't say anything. "Don't be nervous. You'll be fine." Xue Lin and the others, who were further away, were not so calm. From the moment they left Wutua town, they had become pitiful captives. First, he was restrained by the merciless and unreasonable monsters. Then he was locked up in the dungeon. He thought he was going to die for sure. But the director who only took his salary and did not work suddenly appeared. Admittedly, he had shown that he was very good at fighting in the past, and had some abilities that ordinary people could not reach. But this time, the director had become even more terrifying than a monster. Well, it seemed that although the director had become a character in a fantasy novel, at least he still remembered them, and could distinguish between friend and foe. Although he didn't know how he did it, it was true that he protected everyone unscathed during that terrifying attack. Xue Lin and the others were only frightened, but they did not suffer any real harm. But this time they really couldn't sit still. They couldn't be like Xianqin and the other two, who could only watch helplessly as the world around them shattered like glass. It might not be accurate to describe their faces as ashen. They were on the verge of collapse. Xue Lin rushed to the side of the dungeon cage and shouted at the top of her voice, "Director! Director! Go!" In the face of such a terrible catastrophe as the destruction of the world, Xue Lin really didn't know how Chen Guang could save them, who were doomed to die. She could only think of waking up Chen Guang and telling him not to be distracted anymore. At least he had to live. The current director was a god. Having such a god was a great blessing to the whole of China. The other people in the task force were even worse than Xue Lin. Even the well-trained agents who had experienced hundreds of battles couldn't keep calm in this situation. Chen Guang slowly raised his head and looked at Xue Lin and the others. He put away the sudden thoughts in his mind, floated to their side and said softly, "Everyone, I am Dolo World's great magus, right? Chen Guang himself. You don't have to panic. This is just a small matter." "Ah, small matter?" Xue Lin stared blankly at Chen Guang. Just behind him, the edge of the shattered and collapsed world swept over like a wave in a tsunami. Everything was destroyed, but it was silent. Chen Guang nodded. "Yes, it's a small matter." As soon as his voice fell, The shattered world finally crashed through the dungeon where everyone was. Whether it was the strong-willed Xue Lin or the two sect leaders with superb martial arts, their minds were all shocked, and they completely lost consciousness in an instant. On the other side, Xi and Qin and the others also suffered the same fate. Only Chen Guang still stood proudly from the beginning to the end, watching everything around him shatter into pieces. When everything around him completely disintegrated into the void, the world began to regenerate little by little from his feet and spread into the distance. When everything stopped, Chen Guang looked at the setting sun in the distance, and then looked at the many task force members lying on the ground around him. Not far away, Xi and Qin and the other two were also lying there in deep sleep. Feeling the inexhaustible power of the earth explosion in his body receding like the tide, he felt a vague sense of loss in his heart. In a place further away, thousands of world shatterer killers, who should have completely disappeared, were neatly sitting cross-legged on the ground. However, these people who seemed to be meditating were completely silent, and there was no heartbeat. They were dead. They died extremely abruptly. There were no wounds on their bodies, and there were no internal problems in their bodies, not even a cold. But these people had no signs of life, as if their souls were hollowed out. Chen Guang sighed. This time it was really over. The electronic voice of the heavenly Holy Grail sounded in his heart. Congratulations, Redeemer! World of Punishment completed. Survival confirmed. Destroy the world quest completion rate, 100%. Rescue the hostages quest completion rate, 98. 19%. World of Punishment overall completion rate, 99. 39%. Chen Guang let out a long sigh of relief. The second World of Punishment was really very different. In addition to the unprecedented difficulty of the mission, and the unprecedented scale of the mission world, there were also more people involved than ever before, and the abilities he obtained in the mission world were also more powerful and real. Although the time was short, the degree of influence he had on the so-called soul world was actually far greater than when he was in the Sea of Time. After the mission was completed, the Heavenly Holy Grail actually gave an evaluation of the degree of completion for the first time. It was quite a pity that he didn't get a 100% but 99. 39% seemed pretty good. No matter what, it should at least be a level of A++, right? As expected, the Heavenly Holy Grail immediately gave him another piece of good news. Due to the excellent completion of the mission reward will be issued immediately. Redeemer, please prepare to receive it. All the hard work was worth it. It actually directly issued the reward, and not another unlucky reward world. Although the old man was now bursting with confidence, he had just completed such a big mission. He was still quite tired. Of course it was good to be able to relax a bit. Redeemer, please make a wish. The Heavenly Holy Grail can grant you one wish. Chen Guang crazily roared in his heart. My wish is to be able to grant me 10 wishes. Redeemer, please be a bit more serious. Don't act cute. The scope of the wish is 2 Heavenly Holy Grails reward limit. Sigh, this grail really isn't open-minded at all. We're all on the same side. Be a bit more generous. Seeing that this guy couldn't stop acting cute, Liuli couldn't help but shout in his heart. Save your strength. Your reward is given to you by the Bell of Fate. The Bell of Fate handles matters fairly and rigorously. There is absolutely no room for bargaining. If you really want to ask for more, then you want to steal the favor of fate for the 3rd time. Do you want to provoke the world of punishment that is 100 times stronger? Accept it for me. Chen Guang's whole body quivered. He hurriedly said like a machine gun. All right. I'm still short 24 muscles for the special training of my whole body. Since the reward is 2 heavenly chains, it's not too much to let my fleshly body reach perfection, right? Reward distribution begins. Please pay attention to receive it. You're sending it by express delivery. Pay attention to receive it? On the other side, Lu Mingwa said to Liuli without rhyme or reason, Sister Liuli, I think what you said just now is wrong. If the Bell of Fate is really completely fair, this time Chen Guang should be dead. But not only did this guy turn misfortune into blessing, he even picked up a big bargain. This is clearly not normal. Liuli was stunned at first, then she rolled her eyes. You ask me, who do I ask? Even the heavens of the endless God realm don't know why. Chapter 8:16. Chen Guang originally wanted to run to Xi and Qin, and the other two to check if there was anything wrong with their bodies. Of course, he would never admit that he wanted to take advantage of them. However, the mission reward came without giving him any time to wait. In an instant, his whole body stiffened. This was different from when he received benefits from the heavenly Holy Grail in the past. This time, both his physical body and soul remained in the real world. However, Chen Guang could clearly sense that the power of the Holy Grail, that enveloped the entire world, was rapidly gathering towards the cup in his hand from afar. At this time, someone would definitely ask, "Didn't I leave the Holy Grail at the equipment base station when I entered the punishment realm? Why is it in my hand now?" Chen Guang thought that this was a good question. With the old man's many years of experience, this cup either grew legs and ran over, or it was sent over by Azure when she had nothing better to do. Forget it, this was not important anyway. Don't worry about the details. In addition, when the heavenly Holy Grail absorbed the power of the Holy Grail, the so-called distance was not as simple as the place that could not be seen by the eyes on Earth. With Earth as the center, the range was constantly expanding. The power of the Holy Grail that was dispersed throughout the solar system, the Milky Way, the galaxy, and even the entire universe were all gathering at this moment. For the power of the Holy Grail, it seemed that the rules of time that belonged to it were not too consistent with normal time. It was countless times faster than the speed of light. Even if it gathered from the distant edge of the universe, it did not seem to take many seconds. It seemed that the real world that had merged with the real world was also about to retreat. While waiting for the heavenly Holy Grail to absorb the power of the Holy Grail again, Chen Guang let out a long sigh of relief. He did not want the entire Earth to be merged with the real world like this forever. Previously, the tremor Earth had already caused him to be in a mess. If he had not used the faith points to exchange for the pawn to take the crucial step, he would have died long ago. If other people bumped into these monsters, the troops would not be able to do anything. God knew what would happen to Earth if the real world did not retreat. At that time, he could happily walk on the road, sing songs, and get ready to eat hot pot. If an elemental creature suddenly appeared in front of him, he would be in big trouble. "You're really optimistic," Liuli suddenly said in his heart. Lu Minggua's cold laughter also sounded from the side. "Jia jia jia jia. This is too much of a villain. In short, I'll give you 2 words, hee. What were the two of them doing? Chen Guang was quite puzzled. At the same time his body began to stiffen. The reward package from the punishment realm was about to be fulfilled. He didn't understand the mechanism behind the power of the Holy Grail at all. He couldn't feel anything in his body either. He simply couldn't move. However, Chen Guang was not worried that he would be fooled. The heavenly Holy Grail never fooled anyone. Something as important as the reward could be handed over to the professionals. He just had to be confident and boldly win. However, the reactions of Lu Li and Dear Minggu made him feel very unhappy. He had a bad premonition in his heart, as if he had been schemed against. It was very strange. Can you stop beating around the bush? Can't you be more sincere? Sorry, I'm a goddess, not a human. Sorry, this cute sister is also a goddess, not a human. Oh no, you guys are making me feel very uneasy. What's going on? Lu Li said very casually. Look at how nervous you are. It's just a small matter. You're the savior of the heavenly Holy Grail. With your identity and status, this small matter is not even worth mentioning. Don't force me to use my ultimate move. My virgin urine is already unbearably thirsty. You shameless bastard. Forget it, I'll tell you. This time is different from the last. The fusion of the real world and your real world can't be undone. Lu Li really either didn't speak, or she scared people to death when she did. Lord Guang indicated that she was joking with him. Stop fooling around, we're talking business. Dear Minggu said. But Sister Lu Li is talking to you about this, which is also the business you want to know. If it wasn't for the fact that he couldn't move, he would have probably jumped 3 feet high. This joke is too big. A little explanation? Why? I don't understand. You have to understand even if you don't understand, because it has already become the truth. Don't think that the heavenly Holy Grail is still absorbing the power of the Holy Grail. But you also know that ever since you experienced the world of punishment for the first time, the power of the Holy Grail has never completely disappeared. It still exists in this world, but it has become extremely thin to the extent that even you, the owner of the Holy Grail, can't sense it. Chen Guang didn't give up and said, "Then shouldn't it be the same this time?" Lu Li gave Chen Guang a super vivid analogy. If you put a grain of salt in the water will be tasteless. But if you throw a handful into the water, can the water still be drunk? The first time, the degree of fusion of the real world wasn't high. It's like putting two pieces of plasticine of different colors together. The first time, it was just a simple touch, but the second time, you used force and crushed the two pieces of plasticine together. Can they still be separated? Now the Holy Grail is indeed gathering power again, but the power of the Holy Grail that was left in the outside world this time has exceeded the limit of the stability and balance of your world. The final result is that your world will no longer be pure. The real world and your real world will be inseparable. Chen Guang's eyes widened, and he couldn't say a word for a long time. Yes, just as you can imagine, the loophole has been opened. The power of the elements and various kinds of divine powers will gradually invade your world, especially here, this planet. Because of the existence of you and the Holy Grail, the power of the Holy Grail near this planet will be relatively dense. Changes will definitely happen, but I'm not sure when it will happen. Maybe it will be tomorrow. Maybe it will be next year, of course. It could also be 100 years later. In short, when the quantitative change accumulates to a certain extent and reaches a qualitative change, this irreversible change will suddenly descend upon you with a loud bang. Chen Guang took a deep breath. It seemed like he was really going to become the sinner that brought about the end of the world. What will happen when the time comes? Dirkrai interrupted. Sister Lu Li and I aren't sure either. But based on my guess, it might not only be elemental creatures. For example, a three-headed hellhound or something might suddenly descend. This is also not too accurate. Lord Guang shivered. Don't scare me. It sounds so scary. Dirkrai continued. Of course, it's also possible that the ordinary people in this world of yours, because of the differences in their physiques, start to absorb different divine powers bit by bit, and obtain some supernatural abilities, gene unlocking and so on. It's also possible that a space-time hole suddenly appears, and they fall into another small world or something. Anyway, whatever strange and incomprehensible things happen, you just have to blame it on the heavenly Holy Grail and the real world. Lord Guang's face was ashen. Damn it. I don't have the ability of the red sauce exploder now. This way my protagonist aura will collapse. And don't say such a tragic thing so casually. Lu Li laughed. No, don't panic. This is another situation. Originally, perhaps the power of the Holy Grail wasn't dense enough to cause a change, but because a certain someone obtained an ability that he shouldn't have, his body's attraction to the power of the Holy Grail exceeded the limit. To a certain extent, it hindered the Holy Grail from retracting its power, ultimately causing this world to be contaminated with too much of the power of the Holy Grail. This certain someone, of course, is you. This ability that you shouldn't have obtained is the identity of the Earth Sauce Exploder. Feel it carefully again. Your Earth Sauce Exploder ability is still there. It's just that it has become weaker, and you haven't noticed it for a while. Chen Guang's heart moved slightly. It really was like that. There was a slight feeling. Just now he was still feeling melancholy. He had once stood at the top of the world, but suddenly became an ordinary person again. This abrupt change really made him feel a little uncomfortable. Although his power had been greatly weakened now, the natural high level of the Earth Sauce Exploder was still there. Lu Li laughed. Yes, that's right. If this world will have all kinds of mutants sooner or later, you Chen Guang will be the first mutant. The king of the earth element. The Earth Sauce Exploder. If you didn't say the last three words, your aura would be much stronger. Chen Guang sighed. According to what they said, it seemed like he had really become a sinner. The most awkward thing was that even though he knew this wasn't good news, he couldn't change anything. Life was like being raped. If one was powerless to resist, He could only close his eyes and simply enjoy it. This was the general description of the situation. Sai, what will happen? His body could move again. Chen Guang raised his head and looked at the dusky sky in the distance. He didn't know if it was the dust brought by the remnant earth element, or if it was the power of the Holy Grail that he could see with his naked eyes. In any case, his heart was aching. Don't ask me. If I knew everything, I would have escaped long ago. Why would I wait for you to save me? Accept your fate. All right, to put it bluntly, what I will face next is just like the middle realm of the heavenly spirit cup. There are no routines at all, and it will happen as I say. I'll just take it one step at a time. Luli humphed. Bingwa, congratulations on answering correctly. However, there's no reward. I can give you another famous saying. Chen Guang waved his hand. No need. I don't want to know duofu. No. I'm not asking for more luck this time. Then I'm all ears. The boat will cross the bridge when it comes to it, and the cart will cross the mountain when it comes to it. You're crazy. Isn't this just an extended version of duofu? You can interpret it however you want. Anyway, it doesn't matter to you, me and dear Cry. Do you understand? This real world of yours, which is this universe, is just one of the billions and billions of universes in my father's master god of chaos body. I've told you about this a long time ago. Even if this universe is completely destroyed because of the fusion with the real world, the heavenly Holy Grail can still bring you to another universe that is similar to this one. If you're unwilling to leave your homeland, I'll just have to wait for you to rescue me. I'll create a mirror image that is exactly the same as this Earth in another universe. I can even duplicate a person for you. Chen Guang shook his head. What a joke. Can this even be a concept? Even if you create a mirror image, even if it looks exactly the same, can the person be the same person? Take my parents for example. I only have 2 parents in this world. Should I go to a completely different universe and recognize another 2 parents? Don't be ridiculous. This is your view of the world, not mine. I can't accept this theory of yours. Lioli pursed her lips. We're just saying it casually. In any case, you can do whatever you want. How things will turn out isn't in our control. Anyway, you're on your own. Now that your physical body has reached perfection, we'll give you a big surprise in a few days. Hurry up and stop talking about unlucky surprises, actions, and plans. I've been listening to you brag for a year. The universe is about to be destroyed by me, and you're still accumulating power? However, Azure ignored Chen Guang's ridicule and went silent after she finished speaking. The melancholic old master Guang sighed deeply as he held the cup in his hand. Nothing seemed to have changed on the surface, but he knew that it was just as Lioli had said. This world was different from the past. Please don't suddenly drop a golden-armored flaming 3-headed celestial hound on my head. Forget it. In any case, the old man was the ancestor of espers, and he had been at max level from the start. In game terms, the old man was now LV99. He looked a little weak, but his level was still there. It was just that I've emptied my mana. I just have to think of a way to recover it. Let's test out the current power of the soy sauce bomb. Chen Guang raised his hand and pointed at the base of the shattered, which was as good as new, and roared. Fall! A rock the size of a thumb fell from the building. It was unknown whether it was blown by the wind or caused by the power of the marmalade bomber. This what AF asterisk king huge difference. Listen to my command and be born from nothingness. Obelisk's giant god warrior that destroys everything. Unwilling to give up, old Master Guang opened his right palm and created a new set of incantations. A cool breeze blew past, causing his long hair to flutter. However, nothing happened. Chen Guang lowered his head and squinted at his palm. His eyesight, which was honed from his pencil sharpening and dart-throwing skills, allowed him to see a clay figurine about the thickness of a nose hair. If not for his eyesight, he wouldn't have seen it at all. F***CK. Such a small giant god warrior. Are you kidding me? What can you do with this? If I speak too loudly, it will be blown away. My giant god warrior has completely shrunk. It has shrunk to the point of being blown away. Everyone else was still in deep sleep. No one saw the desolation on Chen Guang's face. Stiff. Rua. The difference was so huge that it was a little unbearable. Forget it. At least my Esper ability is more useful than that useless male protagonist who can only bend a spoon. At least it's the only one in the world. After carefully checking the heartbeats of Xi and Qin, and the other two, Chen Guang was slightly relieved after confirming that they were fine and sleeping normally. Don't ask him how he checked other people's heartbeats. Buddha says don't tell. As for the task force on Xuelin's side, they weren't so lucky. Chen Guang just put his finger in front of their noses. Yes, they're breathing and alive. Next, after he was done, he confirmed that everyone was alive. Then he went to the group of assassins from the broken world. As far as the eye could see, the scene was a little frightening. Over 1,000 people were sitting cross-legged neatly in a large square formation. But it was deathly silent. There was no expression of pain or struggle on the faces of these people who had died long ago. They looked quiet and serene. If it wasn't for the fact that it was broad daylight, it would be even scarier than a horror movie. Chen Guang swept his gaze across and saw a relatively familiar face in the front row of the square formation. He remembered the appearance of this young man. This was Shattered World's ultimate weapon. It seemed to be called World Sand. He was also dead. For some reason, Chen Guang took a step in the direction of the young man. Suddenly, a relatively fierce gust of wind blew over. Chen Guang was dazzled. The young man's body, hair, face, and hands outside his clothes were blown away like sand in the wind. His clothes slowly fell to the ground. After a while, there was only a pile of yellow sand where he had been sitting. At least the others could leave their bodies intact. But even his body had turned into sand. Chapter 817. Looking at this scene, Chen Guang couldn't help but think of the final weapon, Sha, who had seen through the mundane world before her death. He shook his head and wanted to throw this image out of his mind. But that drop of water, that he didn't know whether it was a tear or something else, appeared in the depths of his mind. It was as if the sun was shining through the window of his heart and shining on this drop of water that no longer existed, making it crystal clear. It floated quietly in the air, but it revealed an eternal loneliness and sadness. It was like a bright Tiffany diamond, and also like Johnny Walker's white rum. Even if it was just in his mind, it seemed to be able to intoxicate him. Chen Guang raised his head slightly and looked at the gray sky at a 45-degree angle. The light breeze carried the fragrance of the province lavender under Mount Burrell to his face. Collect for me. This guy can't even rest in peace even in death. And he actually wants to shake my mind. I'm almost depressed. I don't believe that there are good people in an assassin organization. This is ridiculous. Besides, so what if you're a good person? Do good people have to not die? This is my world of punishment. Everyone in the world of destruction must die. No one can be left alive. Or I will die myself. Anyway, Right Chen is already a big villain in the Dolua world. If you're really a good person, then I'm the big villain. It's natural for a villain to kill a good person. At most, I'll just burn more paper money for you. I heard that watching a movie in the underworld is quite expensive. A 2D movie costs more than 60 million, and an IMAX 3D movie costs at least 100 million. Forget it, why am I thinking about this? Everything is empty after death. Why should I spoil my mood because of a dead person? If you don't die, then I die. It's that simple. It's funny that this guy actually wants to remind me, and still hopes that I, the main character, will kill the great demon king hiding behind the scenes? If this wasn't true, if I wasn't the great demon king myself, I might have really believed your words. Wait a minute, something doesn't seem right. Forget it, this isn't important. Why do I keep thinking about a dead man? He planned to turn around and leave. As the great director, he would not clean up the mess like collecting the corpse. He would deal with it after Xuelin and the others woke up. At this moment, his sharp eyes saw a small leather booklet on the edge of Sha's clothes on the ground. It was slowly falling out of his pocket. Small notebook. What would it say? Just take a look and you'll know. As a very curious person, he couldn't help but lower his head to take a look at a leaflet on the ground. If it was a beautifully packaged leather book, the temptation would be even more irresistible. He gently took the leather notebook in his hand, shook off the dust on it, and flipped it open. Chen Guang was speechless. This was a diary. The first page wrote the time and date, followed by Sher Shah's words that sounded like he was talking to himself. One day 12 years ago he wrote his first sentence. Today, the teacher said that he's going to teach us something new. I want to learn more seriously, but why does this new thing require me to slit someone's throat with a knife? 3 days later, he wrote like this again. There are so many people in the base. We can earn money no matter what we do. We also know so many things. Why must we kill people? The Buddhist scriptures say that all living things are equal. Although I don't believe in Buddhism, I believe that all living things are equal. No one is more noble than anyone else. The world is so big, can't it accommodate a few more people? Chen Guang silently calculated the age at which Sher Shah wrote this diary. He felt that it was very unbelievable. If he didn't count wrong, he was still a 6-year-old child at that time. Think about what he could write when he was 6. He could be considered a genius if he wrote "Moonlight in front of my bed." Damn, if this guy didn't live in the killer base, he would be a literary giant. But 10 days later, the style of his diary changed drastically. I killed people, 3 of them. I didn't want to kill them. She is my friend. But I had no choice. If I didn't kill them, I would die. It was Ashi who made the first move. When I wanted to discuss with them what to do, Ashi suddenly strangled my neck. He was no longer my friend. He became a beast that wanted to eat people. It was too scary, but I didn't expect them to be so weak. I only used a little strength, and they all died. Later, the frequency of Sher Shah's diary became much lower. Maybe he only wrote it once a year. But almost every article had a similar line at the beginning. I killed people X. The number X was getting bigger and bigger. The highest number was 2 years ago, when it was 27. From time to time, Sher Shah would talk to himself. I want to be a good person. If I can't do it in this life, then in the next. I want to see the outside world. I want to know if my biological parents really abandoned me like what my teachers said. Maybe I was kidnapped and sold. Maybe they have been looking for me, but I don't dare to look for them. Maybe the day I find them will be the day they die. Killers can't have families. I'm free. From today onwards, my name is Sher Shah. I have my own surname. I said I won't go out to kill people. Either they send someone to kill me, or they let me live quietly by the lake. Chen Guang closed the diary slowly and shook the dust off it. He suddenly understood. When the suspicion in the depths of his heart, which had almost become a nightmare in his heart, suddenly became real, he became calm instead. In a sense, Sher Shah was really a good person. He killed many people, but he had no choice. Just like how Sher Shah had to kill him, he had to kill others. The one who forced him was the heavenly Holy Grail. The one who forced Sher Shah was Broken World's teacher. As for those people who died in his hands, they weren't good people either. They were so pitiful. Chen Guang looked at the pile of sand. He sighed in his heart. This person, even if he is a genius, even if he is as strong as I am, to put it bluntly, he is still a small boat in life. In life, there are many times when one has no choice but to do as one pleases. Chen Guang didn't blame himself. There was no use in blaming himself. Sher Shah had killed so many people on his path of growth. Dying tragically in his own hands seemed to be retribution. Everyone just wanted to live. The only difference was that Sher Shah lived a small life, while he lived a great life. That was all. At this moment, Lord Guang still didn't know that the moment he picked up the World Sands notebook, that drop of water that should have disappeared long ago suddenly fell from the sky of a certain realm in the heavenly Holy Grail, landing in a stretch of yellow sand that stretched as far as the eye could see. The scorching summer sky couldn't evaporate this water droplet. Instead, it burrowed into the soil. In the distance, Shui Lin gradually moaned. He opened his eyes and looked in Chen Guang's direction in a daze. His brain seemed to be a little muddled, and he couldn't remember what had happened. Chief Chen, what happened? Shui Lin propped himself up and tilted his head to look at the neatly seated corpse of the World Shatterer assassin. Chen Guang relaxed. Very good. His memory had been erased. He couldn't remember anything. Nothing much. You were drugged and held hostage. This chief personally took action and killed the assassins. This operation ended successfully. All the World Shatterer assassins were executed. Not a single one was spared. Ha! Shui Lin's mind froze even more. Just when Chen Guang wanted to say something, His body suddenly trembled. In his eyes, he saw countless threads of faith stretching in his direction from the distant horizon. His mind sank into the heavenly Holy Grail. On one of the platforms on the city wall, he saw a 300-foot-long Airbus, A320 statue slowly float up from the surface of the platform. Although the 7 platforms next to it were still empty, Chen Guang remembered that there had once been 7 other statues here. It was just that they had mysteriously disappeared. Damn! The statue of the world of pilots, which he had searched so hard for but failed to find, had suddenly appeared out of the blue without any warning? There was no warning at all. Just like that. Chapter 8:18. Azure, who was planning to meditate, also flew up from Cloud City. She floated in the air and looked at the big airplane statue that was slowly emerging from afar. When the airplane statue was completely formed, it looked exactly the same as the original Airbus A320. Even the patterns and decorations on it were the same as the one that Chen Guang piloted. In a sense, this A320 could be regarded as a model airplane, but this model was a bit big. It was more than 300 meters long, which was equivalent to 10 times the size of the original plane. Why is this? Azure seemed to be talking to herself, but also seemed to be asking Lu Ming. Lu Ming replied without hesitation, "Don't ask me, I don't know." Azure suddenly clapped her hands and came to a sudden realization. The reason why the 8th statue couldn't appear before was related to the loss of the previous 7 statues. "Sister Azure, we have confirmed this a long time ago. At that time, what gave us a headache was how to solve this problem." Azure nodded. "That's right. But now that the statue has appeared on its own, why should we care about why? It doesn't matter at all." "Huh. Doesn't matter?" Lu Ming's huge fruit swayed. It was obvious that he had suffered a big mental blow. It took a long time for him to recover. "Although I feel that something is wrong, what you said makes sense." In fact, everyone knew that this 8th statue must have some connection with the punishment realm that Chen Guang had just experienced, but including Azure, they only knew how and why. As for the deeper reason, perhaps no one understood it. Chen Guang's spirit body floated in front of the airplane statue. He looked left and right, up and down, feeling that it was not cool enough. "Change it to J20, thank you." As soon as he said that, the Airbus A320 softened like a fluid, and the overall image quickly evolved into the top fighter in China. In a few seconds, a domineering, mighty and dazzling supergiant J-20 model appeared in front of him. Smacking his lips, Chen Guang nodded. It looked much more pleasing to the eye this way. In that short amount of time, the threads of faith coming from the outside world had already passed through the barrier between the real world and the world within a cup. They appeared out of thin air in the sky far away from Cloud City and spread at an extremely fast speed, connecting to the statue of J20. Chen Guang seemed to have seen this scene before. But compared to other statues, the pilot statue's faith value thread seemed a little special. There were many fine threads, about half of Otto's. This meant that in this world, the people who would care about who was the best at piloting a plane were about half the people who drove a car. There was nothing strange about this. Although they were both driving skills, airplanes were not seen every day like cars. Although everyone knew about it, the number of people who would think about it was much fewer than the driving enthusiasts. But the plane statue's faith value output was much higher than the Alto statues. From the very beginning, it had reached the maximum of 52,000. The reason was none other than the tens of thousands of exceptionally thick threads of faith value. Unlike car drivers, most pilots were real professionals in this industry. They were either pilots of civil airplanes or pilots of the Air Force. In the civil aviation industry, safe flight was more important than anything else. Chen Guang's achievements were great. He brought aviation safety to a new level. After receiving the Hero's Medal, he generously opened a course and publicly explained flight control skills. His selfless dedication was great, but this was not the end. His lecture records were saved. From the moment school ended, the relevant departments of major airlines around the world concentrated on sorting out and analyzing his lecture records and compiling a monograph. The current level of progress was just the beginning. The flight control skills he brought out were far more than that. He was simply a bottomless pit. His lecture records were like a deep sea full of treasures. As long as they could continue to decipher them, what awaited the entire civil aviation industry would be a leap in human flight technology, and there was no end in sight in the short term. As for the Air Force, whether it was in Huaxiao or internationally, the private information about fighter jet piloting that Chen Guang had deliberately stuffed into the course was even more treasured. The result of this fact was that his reputation in the entire field of flight control had directly reached its peak. Especially those who had personally listened to his lectures in the chat room. They regarded him as a god. These tens of thousands of extremely thick threads of faith value came from the students in the chat room. In addition, there were about tens of millions of relatively thick threads of faith value, which came from the employees of major airlines around the world. The influence of the Xiangjiang gambling race was different from that of the underground racing world. After all, it was an underground race that could not be seen in the light. This time, he got positive publicity that spread to the whole world. He himself had put in a lot of effort for this statue. Whether it was hype or excessive generosity, his several consecutive days of late-night flying lessons had indeed accumulated his reputation in this industry to a considerable height. Now that the statue had been completed, the production of faith value directly went off the charts, which was also the benefit of his accumulation. When the statue here stabilized, Chen Guang returned outside. Xue Lin, who had just barely propped herself up, looked at him with a face full of shame. "Director, I've embarrassed you." Chen Guang walked to his side and patted him on the shoulder. "It's nothing. There's something wrong with our intelligence work. You didn't do anything wrong. You sacrificed a colleague in exchange for this result. It's still acceptable." As the two chatted, the others gradually woke up one after another. These people's reactions were no different from Xue Lin's. They were shocked by the terrible scene of neatly arranged but strangely dead bodies. Chen Guang was not in the mood to explain to everyone. As the saying goes, a higher-ranking official can crush a lower-ranking official. The Guangding General Office was also a special unit with the nature of a special agent organization. It was not something low-level employees should do to get to the bottom of things. He left Xue Lin in the world-shattering base to clean up the mess, while he drove the van to Wutua town with the sect masters of the Thousand Despair sect and Myriad Flower Valley and Xanqin. However, there was something that gave him a headache. Everyone else had woken up, but only Xanqin, Wu Miaowan, and Lu Fei did not move. Even when they returned to Wutua town and settled the three of them in the hotel, the three of them were still in deep sleep. Chen Guang secretly pinched Xanqin's leg, but there was no movement. Sect Master Wu, did something happen to the three of them?" Chen Guang asked anxiously in the room. Wu Miaowan's master Wu Qingming was the Myriad Flower Valley master who was famous for her elixirs. She was a divine physician with a high level of Chinese medicine. She had just taken the pulse of the three of them. Wu Qingming frowned slightly. "The pulse of the three of them is stable, and they have sufficient qi and blood. There are no internal injuries in their bodies. They should have woken up by now." "That's right. What's going on?" Wu Qingming tidied up her clothes and stood up. "Director Chen, you don't have to worry too much. The three of them are breathing steadily. Let's wait and see for a while. If they still don't wake up, we'll think of another way." Abbess Xian Yuan, who was standing at the side, also said, "Sect Master Wu's medical skills are extremely high. With her around, nothing serious will happen." Xanqin and Wu Miaowan are also the eldest disciples of our two sections. Their physiques are far stronger than ordinary people. It's just a small matter. "Thank you, Director Chen." Wu Qingming nodded. "That's right. Director Chen, your friend is not an ordinary person. Her aptitude is quite high. If we saw her when she was young, we might have taken her in as a disciple. I'll go and write a prescription first. I'll go to the pharmacy in this town to get a few doses of refreshing medicine. If they don't wake up in an hour, we'll feed them." The two sect masters were exceptionally calm. Chen Guang did not have any good ideas. Wu Qingming went out to look for medicine, while Abbess Xian Yuan sat in the living room with her sword in her arms. It seemed that she was performing her duty as a guard. On the other hand, the Chinese military had reached an agreement with the neighboring country. Several military helicopters were taking off from the border airport and heading straight to this place to help with the follow-up work. Only Chen Guang knew that all the members of the broken world were dead, but the others could not feel at ease. On the other hand, Xue Lin and the rest of the task force were still confused at the broken world base. They had 1,000 mysteries in their hearts, but the director did not seem to be interested in explaining. Team leader Xue, these people died so strangely. Don't ask me. I don't know anything. Maybe it's an inner force ability that Director Chen learned from the Wen clan. Don't ask so much. Xue Lin dealt with a certain agent who was overly curious. She thought to herself, forget it. No matter how strange the situation is now, the task force came to Mount Baylor to carry out a mission. Although the current situation of the mission was beyond everyone's understanding, in a sense the Special Affairs Bureau, a special unit that replaced the Special Affairs Bureau, had to face situations that were beyond the understanding of ordinary people, right? When she thought about it this way, she suddenly felt better. He waved his hand again and shouted, "Everyone check carefully. See if there's anyone left. This is the first big operation of the Guangdong General Bureau. We can't afford to make any mistakes." At the bottom of the mountain, Ouyang Tianxing was running forward in the tunnel with all his might. His face was pale, and his forehead was covered in sweat. With his inner force cultivation, he should not have broken a sweat while running like this, but his face was covered in cold sweat. The scene he saw in the Dolo world was still playing over and over in his mind. Just recalling that scene was enough to make him tremble uncontrollably. How terrifying, how strange. Chen Guang was not human at all. Such a powerful broken world holy clan was wiped out. Not a single one was left alive. They could not even cause him any trouble. From the start to the end, he was never serious. It was like a cat toying with a mouse. If he did not see it with his own eyes, Ouyang Tianxing would probably still be immersed in the illusion that inner force martial artists were invincible. At this moment, all he could think about was, what was the truth of this world? What kind of power did Chen Guang have? Other than Chen Guang, how many people were like him? Ouyang Tianxing, want to be like that too. Chapter 819. Ouyang Tianxing jumped out of the secret tunnel and disappeared into the woods. He did not know that there was a mysterious rune on the surface of his heart that was flickering along with his heartbeat. He was very unfortunate. As a mortal in a sense, he was inexplicably involved in such a matter. However, he was lucky that the battle on the ground did not kill him. The three great patriarchs of the world-shattering clan had escaped far away, and the battle had not happened above the basement where he was hiding. Therefore he survived. As someone who was not part of the Heavenly Holy Grail's plan, his memory was not erased. The fictitious world-shattering holy tribe had lost their bodies, their powers, and their souls. However, before the three elders died, they had left a mark of resentment on the body of Ouyang Tianxing, the only survivor of the world-shattering holy tribe, who was related to the world-shattering holy tribe. What was false was not necessarily false, and what was true was not necessarily true. If everyone believed in something, even if it was a lie, it would become the truth in the eyes of the world. The real and the illusory were eternal enemies. At least, for Ouyang Tianxing, the world-shattering holy tribe and grand sorcerer Right Chun were the most realistic. His belief in this matter was even more sincere than Chen Guang himself. On the other side, the three women did not wake up. Chen Guang did not know what to do. While Wu Qingming went out to buy medicine, he crossed his legs and rested his head on the sofa. He was thinking about the second volume of the painting volume, which was the real part about the inner strength. He had spent a lot of effort to make his body complete, so of course, he had to learn the inner strength. Although the ability of the earth-paced exploder was of a high level, it could only fly a pebble and summon a giant soldier god. It was really not good enough to be used in public, and he did not know how to improve it. It seemed more reliable to learn inner strength. He thought about it for a while, but it did not seem to work. He decided to do it at night. According to the incantation, the painting volume used literature to enter the Tao. Before guiding the Qi sense, one must take a bath and change clothes, recite the classics, nourish the qi, and calm the spirit. Then, at midnight, one must light a white candle to make the shape of the Big Dipper. First, one must recite an obscure and profound classical Chinese in his heart, so that one could enter a state of confusion. Alright, this couldn't be said to be fooling around, but rather using the writings of the predecessors to cultivate one's mind. A good essay could either depict beautiful scenery or express one's feelings. If one were to read it seriously and put one's own feelings into it, one's emotions would naturally burst forth. This was the emotion that came from the article. It could be the surge of blood, or the melancholy of spring and autumn. It didn't matter. What was important was that the heart was moved, and the emotions were aroused. Then, according to the instructions of the incantation, the breathing and exhalation, thinking about the feeling of qi. This feeling of qi might not be achieved overnight. Those who were talented, like Wenwen, could successfully capture the feeling of qi in less than a month or two, and then store it in the dantian, officially embarking on the path of an inner strength martial artist. Those who were not talented, like Lu Chao's bodyguard, Tai Xinju, could barely form the feeling of qi after 7 or 8 years. At this time, he was already in his 20s. After another 8 or 10 years, he would reach the peak of his life, and at this time, he would be in his 30s. Unfortunately, this peak was only at the level of muscle strength, which could not be shown in public. After that, he would be thankful that his cultivation did not decline. Martial arts were ruthless, and one's innate talent and comprehension shackled the limits of one's cultivation. The so-called hard work could make up for one's lack of talent, but that was only under the same conditions. For example, Wenwen cultivated for 1 year, and Tai Xinju cultivated for 10 or 20 years. How could they compare? The innate difference in innate talent and comprehension could not be made up for later. Chen Guang felt that with his talent, he would be able to cross the threshold in 1 day, then 2 days for muscle jing, 3 days for bone jing, 4 days for skin jing, and 5 days for great perfection to become a great scholar like Wenwen. After 6 days, he would probably be invincible. It took 7 days to build Rome, but it only took 6 days for the old man to be invincible. I'll start work tonight if I have nothing to do. However, there was a problem. Among the descendants of the Wen family, when Wenwen first stimulated her sense of qi, she recited the Song of Righteousness, written by Wen Tianxiang in prison in the southern Song dynasty. But what should he read? Do you also read the Song of Morality? This was not necessarily the case. Throughout history, most of the descendants of the school of Wen read the Song of Righteousness, but there were also people who read Yu Fei's Rivers Run Red, Xan Qiji's Breaking the Formation, or Su Shi's Shuidiao Getu. It was not as if there were no predecessors of the school of Wen who read the Analects of Confucius and the Book of Songs. There were no restrictions on what kind of articles one could read. As long as one was emotionally invested, one would be able to achieve results. There was another question. Why did it have to be in classical Chinese or ancient Chinese? Weren't all the articles in the world just articles? The articles written by the ancients seem to be ancient Chinese now, but 100 years ago, 200 years ago, or even in the era when the articles were written, were they still ancient Chinese? It was not wrong to say that they were popular song lyrics. In that case, the words in the mnemonics would be illogical and contradictory. Therefore, for the experience and lessons of the predecessors, we can't not believe them completely. We have to think dialectically, make our own choices, and make our own judgments. Therefore, Chen Guang silently took out the Popcorn 6 SBLUS from his bag, and first downloaded the ebook Jin Ping Mei to calm himself down. This was also ancient Chinese, and it was also very literary. The words were also very artistic, but because of some unspeakable reasons, it was a little bit of a bad name. Anyway, since he had nothing to do, he might as well give it a try first. If there was no effect, he could just change to the Song of Righteousness. After making up his mind, Chen Guang was idle again. He was simply bored. Poor Wenwen. If she knew that a certain insensitive person was actually planning to use Jin Ping Mei to stimulate the sense of qi, she was afraid that she would either die of anger or strangle Chen Guang to death. My head. At this moment, Xanqin suddenly opened her eyes slowly. Then, she raised her hand and rubbed her temples, which were swollen and painful. When Chen Guang, who was sitting next to her, heard the sound, he hurriedly trotted in front of her. Are you okay? Are you okay? Xanqin looked up at Chen Guang and was stunned for a while. Then she opened her mouth. Grand Magister, right, Chen? Big Daisy Elder? Chen Guang, huh? On the other side, Wu Miaowan's voice also came. Mr. Right? Chen Guang. Damn it. They didn't lose their memories. This didn't make sense. Alright, there wasn't anything scientific about this. While scientists were still researching whether antimatter really existed, and whether there were white holes behind black holes, the old man had already treated other planes as his backyard. Oh right, these planes and worlds were still in the old man's cup, hee. Then the problem was, how should I deal with these two? How should I fool them, so that they would pretend that nothing had happened in the following days? At this moment, Lu Fei's voice came from behind him. It seemed that the three of them had woken up at the same time. Chen Guang? Lu Fei said in a low voice, her tone filled with confusion and lack of confidence. Chen Guang's heart relaxed. Fortunately, Sister Lu Fei had forgotten. At least he could fool one less person. Has your Dolo world been destroyed? Will you continue to stay in this world in the future? Then are you Chen Guang or right Chen? Lu Fei spoke again. Poor Master Guang pinched his forehead. His heart was so tired. Lu Fei didn't lose her memories either. Bureau Chief Chen, are they all awake? Xanqin's master suddenly appeared at the door again. She looked very calm and expressionless, but for some reason, Chen Guang didn't like this master very much. He always felt subconsciously afraid of her. He definitely wouldn't admit that he had accidentally eaten Xanqin this time, and felt guilty. Chen Guang nodded. Yes, they're awake. Master, please wait outside for a while. I have something to tell them. At this time, the benefits of being in a high position and being a bureau chief were revealed. Although Master Xan Yuan and Wu Qingming were considered elders, in the Guangding General Headquarters, they were at most people from the pugilistic world who cooperated with the headquarters. Chen Guang's identity represented the official position and was the official bureau chief. In addition to what happened today, although the two elders didn't know how Chen Guang did it, they felt that he must have a real trump card that was not known to others. His strength couldn't be underestimated, and they no longer treated him as a useless bureau chief who relied on Wenwen's support like before. Chen Guang closed the door, and then spent about 10 seconds to adjust his mood and think about what to say. As a result, in front of Xanqin, Wu Miaowan and Lu Fei, his aura suddenly changed. He didn't answer anyone's question. Instead, he walked to the window with his hands behind his back and his neck held high. He looked out of the window quietly and took a deep breath. An aura called melancholy gushed out from his body and shrouded the ward firmly. The world-class acting skills were activated, making the whole room melancholy with him. I can't go back anymore. Damn the Broken World Saint clan. They chose to perish together. Even if they die, they won't leave a passage for me. Chen Guang's voice was slightly hoarse, with a unique magnetism, like a baritone from an old-fashioned record player. Xanqin and the other two were stunned. Chen Guang turned his head and looked at the three of them. Under the corner of his right eye, a tear fell silently from his cheek. Ah, how sad it was. How desperate it was for a person to never be able to return to his hometown. Xanqin and the other two gasped. The radiance of motherhood gradually burst out uncontrollably in their hearts. They had been played by the world-class acting skills. Chen Guang suddenly smiled again. But it doesn't matter. I have no family in that world. The rest of my life is here. I was born and raised here, and I will be buried here in the future. My name is Chen Guang, not right Chen. I'll treat my past life as a dream. I'll treat my life of studying and studying magic year after year as a dream. I'll treat it as if I've never recovered those meaningless memories. This way, I won't be tortured to death by longing. I've already lost everything in that world. There won't even be anyone who remembers me. This world has treated me well. I have family, friends, and you guys here. There's nothing bad about being a person without a past. Be it magic or studying, aren't they all survival skills of near life? I'm now a deputy director in this world. In Dolua world, my social status isn't any lower than a great magister's. I'm doing quite well. Ha 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 ha. He laughed again, but as he laughed, tears streamed down his face. As a super professional world-class actor, crying scenes didn't require onion eye drops at all. He could do it whenever he wanted. It wasn't something that Miss Number's stand-in could compare to. Master Guang expressed that apart from being an outstanding actor, he also seemed to have the potential to be a scriptwriter. Aunt Xiong Yao-style jokes really came out of nowhere. The key was that the effects were pretty good. Xi and Qin, and the other two actually didn't have any problems. The three of them jumped off the hospital bed and hugged Chen Guang from 3 different directions. Lu Fei's eyes were filled with tears. Don't be sad. At least you still have us. We remember you. Xi and Qin's nose twitched. That's right. The 3 of us went to see that world with you. We know that you were once a great magister. Wu Miaowan said. Director Great Magister, don't cry. Stand up and rub. No, we all know your secret. You have to teach me. Being hugged by the 3 of them, Chen Guang's eyes almost turned into crescent moons. Fortunately, he controlled himself in time. He coughed lightly and continued with a straight face. But only the 3 of you know that Xue Lin and your master have lost their memories. Although I don't know why, maybe the rules of the world think that they shouldn't know these things. But the 3 of you still have that memory. I still don't understand, but you have to remember this well. You have to keep this matter to yourself. Don't ever mention it to anyone else. Remember. Remember. The 3 of them nodded and hugged him even tighter. Just treat this as the biggest secret in the hearts of the 4 of them. Heaven knows, earth knows, we know. The 3 of them were secretly delighted like little girls. Just like little fans who had secretly become friends with a big star. Chen Guang was a star now, but it didn't matter whether he was a star or not. How could a star be more powerful than a destructive great magister? The moment they saw him, they felt like they were living in a fantasy novel. Moreover, they were one of the main characters. What could be more blissful than this? Chapter 820. It didn't take long for Wu Qingming to come back. To be on the safe side, Xi and Qin and the other 2 drank a traditional Chinese medicine to refresh their minds and restore their energy. She deserved to be the master of Wanhua Valley. Even if she didn't have the right medicinal materials, the effect of the prescription was not comparable to that of ordinary people. After the 3 women drank the medicine, they were immediately refreshed. Not only did they not have any sequelae, but they were also full of energy. Several military helicopters from home had also arrived. After dropping off the follow-up troops, they were ready to return immediately. Chen Guang thought that since the people of the World Breaker were all dead, Xue Lin and the others were no longer in any danger in Wutua town, and his punishment world was completely over. It was a waste of life to stay here and waste time. So he simply wanted to go back to Wujing first. He didn't know what would happen when he stimulated the qi sense. After all, Wutua town was not his territory, so he always felt uncertain. The way of practicing martial arts was broad and profound. Maybe a little discomfort would affect the state. It was better to go back. Therefore he, the director who didn't want to be in charge, was ready to run away. He could take the military helicopter on the return trip, which saved time and effort. Xi and Qin, Wu Miaowan, and Lu Fei all had that little secret in their hearts. They felt that there was nothing wrong with the Grand Magister right now, but there was a lingering melancholy hidden in his eyes. The 3 of them secretly felt sorry for him, so they followed Chen Guang back to the 5 capital cities. Abbess Xi Yuan and Wu Qingming took the initiative to participate in this action, but they didn't help anything from the beginning to the end. The 2 had the cultivation of the peak of skin strength, but they lost a part of their memory in a daze. When they came to their senses, everything was over. If they didn't participate in the aftermath work, they would lose face as the masters of the 2 sections. Therefore, the 2 did not follow Chen Guang back, but went to the base of the World Breaker at the foot of Mount Baral to help Xue Lin deal with the aftermath properly. Although they had all been executed, the base of the broken world was well preserved. Not a single piece of information was missing. After digesting all the information, Not only would they be able to solve many unsolved cases, but they would also be able to get hold of the weaknesses of those who had ill intentions. Why not? After arriving at the 5 capital cities, Chen Guang planned to take a private car straight back to his rented apartment. Xian Qin and Wu Miaowan wanted to go back as well, but Xue Lin kept sending over important information from time to time. The headquarters of the 5 capital cities needed to be coordinated and handled. As the director, Chen Guang was used to being a hands-off boss. On the other hand, Xian Qin and Wu Miaowan, the 2 deputies, had to work like a horse, unable to get away. In addition, their masters felt that they had not performed well in this incident, so they had secretly ordered them to stay in the 5 capitals and take charge of the work. They must not affect the status of the Thousand Despair sect and the Myriad Flower Valley in the Jianghu under the new circumstances. Therefore, even though Xian Qin and Wu Miaowan were a little unwilling, they had no choice but to bid farewell to Chen Guang for the time being. They were ready to return to the headquarters building in the city. Director Archmage, don't be too sad. Just like you said, since you can't go back, you should live well in this world. No matter what, you still have me, my little darling, and sister Lu Fei in this world. Before they parted, Wu Miaowan comforted Chen Guang in a youthful manner. Xian Qin added, "In your family in Wenwen." "Oh, that's right. And that classmate of yours, Sun Xiaoxuan, your teacher Zhua Jiangye, Jin Shiyue, and your director Wu Tong." "Damn it. Director Fickle, you have a lot of debts. Why do I feel that it's a good thing that you can't go back? Otherwise, who's going to help you pay off your debt of love?" He's truly worthy of being Chen Guang's right-hand man. He's so clear about Chen Guang's matters. It's not that he doesn't know about it, but he's startled by it. He's practically cleaning up Chen Guang's debt of love. Chen Guang's face froze. He thought to himself, "You seem to have forgotten about Sister Tang Ying. Forget it, there's nothing to show off about this." He was also feeling a bit of a pain in the ass. He thought to himself, "This old man is a verbal cannon. Although my heart is always on fire, my actions have always been upright and straight. Don't look at how many people I've pointed out. If I ask myself honestly, it's all because people in Jianghu have no choice. Besides, most people and I are very innocent. Teacher Zhua and I, it was a coincidence that caused our emotions to explode. Although this old man is a righteous person, I am also a hot-blooded young man. In that kind of situation, and that kind of state of mind, I simply couldn't resist it. That's right, you can't blame me for this. Wenwen and I were reasonable. Although I had some thoughts about her, it was just a thought. How the hell would I know? I knocked her out and pushed her down, but she still wouldn't admit it. The second time, it was also because she went berserk. The old man had the heart of a doctor, and his motive was to save the dying and help the injured. He was upright and straight. Saving a life is better than building a 7-storied pagoda. I was sacrificing myself for myself. That was a compassionate heart. Cough cough. In short, it was also an accident. Other than that, alright, I also felt a bit guilty in front of little Xian Qin. But can you blame me for this? This kind of coincidence happening in midair is probably the same as buying a $2 lottery ticket on the street and winning 5 million. It's all fate. As for other people, Jin Shiyue and I are innocent. I don't feel guilty even if I say it out loud. With Jiang Yage, alright, it doesn't seem to be too innocent. Although she has something on me, I can't deny that sometimes my brain is out of control, and my mind is out of control. I take the initiative to ask her for more. This is my fault, I admit it. When I was with Sister Lu Fei in Xiangjiang, that alright, I also admit that my self-control is a bit lacking. At that time, in the parking lot of the car race, there were too many demons and ghosts. I admit that I was infected and did some stupid things. Later on, I did some shameful things with Sister Lu Fei on the side of the road. But, alright, I won't argue anymore. I admit it. And Sister Wu Tong, this matter, it's a bit hard to explain in a few words. But up until now, I can still maintain my innocence with her, and didn't take the last step. This already shows that I'm as calm as Lu Xiaohui, okay? If it was in ancient times, I would have been given a silk banner, and my name would have been recorded in history. Oh right, there's also Xiao Sun. Sigh. She's also a person with a bitter life. I don't even know what to do. Thinking of her, I also have a headache. Whatever I do is wrong. I originally wanted to keep my distance from her. But that incident happened in America. I can't just leave her to die, right? With my understanding of her, I'm afraid that she will never be able to walk out of here in this lifetime. But her temperament is gentle and stubborn. She seems to be very traditional. Yet I can't control my state of mind and body. I'm afraid that the deeper she loves, the deeper she will be hurt. Even if I were to make her give up, I'm afraid that she would take things to the extreme. Then I would only be left with vexation. Oh, there's also Sister Tanging. From a certain perspective, we are also in a doctor-patient relationship. But this time, I'm the patient in her heart. She's treating me for my non-existent kidney disease. Forget it, there's no need to count. It seems that Xianqin isn't completely wrong. I really can't be considered as a good person. But since things have come to this, what can I do? Commit suicide to apologize to the world? Or should I just become a monk and end all troubles? None of these are solutions. Since things have come to this, I can only take one step at a time. Right at this moment, Lioli suddenly reminds him in his heart. Say, don't forget that you still have Annie in the Sea of Transient. She's the one who rolled in the sheets with you the most, and made you the most satisfied. Chen Guang's face reddens. Of course, he wouldn't forget about Annie. Aren't I counting my romantic debts in the real world? Of course I remember Annie. Forget it, it's not like I'm criticizing you. Besides, what romantic debts are you talking about? In the matters between men and women, there's no such thing as who owes who. To put it bluntly, it's just consensual. Do you think that these girls who think that they owe others don't know that your butt isn't clean? Do they understand why most of them don't point it out? Isn't it because they're afraid that once they point it out, you'll be forced to leave? Is that so? You're Chen Guang, the savior of the heavenly Holy Grail, the master of the 3,000 worlds, the ruler of the earth element, the earth sauce exploder. In the endless god realm, you're an existence that isn't inferior to a god emperor. You're actually doubting yourself because of this matter? Just what are you thinking? As a man, don't you want to eat meat, drink wine, and be magnanimous? This plane, this universe, this planet. In the end, it's just the first step in your long journey. You're just a passerby here. When you do things in this world, you should do as you please. Why do you have so many misgivings? The so-called intersection between the soul and the flesh is just a small matter, an insignificant small matter. You're really infuriating me. You're really embarrassing me. Unexpectedly, Lioli suddenly flared up. Dearcry advised from the side. Sister Lioli, calm down, calm down. Isn't he always like this? It's not like you don't know. Back then, because of his temper, didn't you? Shut up. Dearcry. Lioli suddenly interrupted Dearcry's words, making Chen Guang scratching his head in confusion. Of course, Chen Guang knew the meaning of Lioli's previous words. She wanted to say that his status wasn't that of an ordinary person. He was like an ancient emperor and shouldn't be troubled by these things. His style of doing things should be more heroic. To put it bluntly, he should take advantage of others when there's a chance, and not be lenient or soft-spoken. Even if he really messed up on someone's side and caused trouble, he had 3,000 worlds. Everything that happened here was insignificant to him. Just like how Lioli didn't seem to care much about the lives of the people in this world when she spoke. Chen Guang was sure that even if all the people on Earth died, Lioli's heart wouldn't be affected at all. As long as he was still alive, she didn't care about anything. I understand the logic. And you're right, but it's really difficult to do it. That's the worldview of God, the view of life. I'm a human, and I have my own view of life, which is different from yours. Even if I've experienced a lot, even if I've felt the incredible so-called ultimate power of the Mother Earth exploder in the punishment world this time, haven't I come back? Just as Xianqin said, I'm a mortal who owes a lot of debts after all. I can't get rid of the human flavor in my bones. Chapter 821. Look at how disappointing you are. How blind was I to choose you back then? Seeing that she had said so much to no avail, Lioli scolded him and went silent again. Chen Guang didn't argue with her. It was meaningless. After sending Xianqin and Wu Miaoan off, He went home with Lu Fei. Speaking of which, he planned to buy this house, and the house Zhuo Jingxi was renting. He had already arranged for his professional lackey, Lu Xiaoyang, to take care of it. There was no other reason. He was so rich that it wouldn't be comfortable renting someone else's house. Since he had nothing to do, and he had more money than he could spend, he might as well buy the house completely and do whatever he wanted. He wouldn't have to rent someone else's house all the time and find it troublesome to change the appliances. Although this house wasn't considered a high-end neighborhood, it was close to the school. He would have to stay here for another year. When he graduated, it would be convenient for him to keep a junior in this house. Ahem. I'm just kidding. I really didn't think of it that way. Sister Lu Fei, why don't you go back to your own house? Chen Guang asked as he took out the key and opened the door. He changed his shoes and casually pressed the switch. The lights in the room turned on. Looking at the familiar furnishings in the room, he felt as if he had been in another world. He was still in this room last night, but when he saw the sofa, the small 42-inch TV, and the Supreme Tycoon phone in the corner of the living room, he felt very emotional. It felt like a long time had passed without him realizing it. Chen Guang secretly scratched his head. Perhaps it was because too many things had happened in the punishment realm, and he had once become a powerful existence like the Earth Bean Popper. Therefore, although only a day had passed, the things that he had experienced were unimaginable for many people in their lifetime. That's right, that must be it. Seeing that he was distracted, Lu Fei pushed him and rushed into the room. She said, "What's going on? Hurry up and go in. You're asking me why I'm not going home. I'm worried about you, right?" She would never admit that she had ulterior motives. Of course, only she knew what was in the depths of her heart. At this moment, she was more like a hungry wolf or a ferocious tiger. From the moment Xianqin and Wu Miaowan left, Lu Fei had secretly made up her mind. Initially, she had not made up her mind. But since Xianqin and Wu Miaowan had decided to stay in the Guangdong General Headquarters in the city, wasn't this a godsend opportunity for her? She immediately changed her mind. Lu Fei didn't think too much about it. She just felt that the matter between her and Chen Guang had been dragged on long enough. Since a long time ago, she had wanted to do something with the most perfect man she had ever met. But in the end, perhaps because she wasn't proactive enough, or perhaps because everyone was busy, it had unknowingly been dragged to this day. Originally, the relationship between him and her had already become abnormal. That layer of window paper seemed like it could be pierced at any time, but it just happened to be one step short. As a result, now more and more people were catching up, and she was the one who was ahead of them. This made her feel that she was at a disadvantage, and she was very unhappy. I don't care who got to know me first. I was the one who first had this idea, and now I'm actually left behind. This can't be tolerated. In Lu Fei's view of life, this matter really wasn't something to be bothered about. In the past, it wasn't that I didn't like to play, but that my standards were too high, and I had never met a man who caught my eye. Only Chen Guang completely meets my standards, and I'm willing. Although he's younger than me, he's really great. No one can be like him, giving me the feeling of my heart racing wildly and unstoppably. I've read in a book that if a woman met a man, just looking at him, thinking about him, hearing his voice, and smelling his scent would make her heart race uncontrollably. Then congratulations, you've fallen in love. At this time there were two choices. Either stay as far away from him as possible, and never see him again. Maybe time would help you forget this feeling. Or don't hesitate, bravely pounce on him, and ruthlessly bite him. Even if you bite him until he's drenched in blood, even if you're covered in cuts and bruises, even if you're hurt to the bone, you don't have to regret it. At least in this kind of life, there's a complete and vigorous love. It's better than looking back on the first half of your life when you're old and can't find anything worth remembering no matter how hard you try. Besides, Chen Guang's philandering has its advantages. It doesn't matter if someone is ahead of him. His heart is always very big, and I can always dig out a place for myself in his heart. His philandering is a disadvantage, but in a certain sense it's also an advantage. I don't have to worry about getting hurt here. Also, I don't care what will happen in the future. I completely meet the criteria of having something happen with him. now that I'm left behind. It's not that he doesn't care about me. And it's not that I don't have that idea anymore. It's just a coincidence that I missed it. Today, I won't miss another opportunity. Moreover, in Wutua town, when I was at my most desperate moment, didn't I also think that if someone came to save me, I would devote myself to that person? In the end, someone really came. It's really him again. Originally, because they haven't been in contact for too long, their relationship gradually became indifferent. But at this moment, Lu Fei felt that she had fallen into it again, and it was even deeper than before. Although he didn't ride a white horse and descend from the sky like what was written in fairy tales, and only drove a bus, he was indeed the one who saved her from the trap. What happened after that, when she thought about it now, felt like a dream. Although he didn't feel that proud and didn't take it seriously, in my eyes, his power to destroy the world with the raise of his hand was simply earth-shattering, okay? If I didn't see it with my own eyes, if I didn't personally participate in this matter, I would simply think that I'm dreaming. No, even in my dreams, I can't dream of such an incredible thing. Where can I find such a man? I can't even find him with a lantern. Although he said that he can't return to that soul world anymore, I, Lu Fei, don't believe him. He was born extraordinary, and he has more secrets on him. For example, the cup that he asked me and Xian Qin to bring up the mountain previously. There must be some secrets that I don't know. And he isn't willing to say. But it doesn't matter. Who doesn't have their own little secrets? I have curiosity too, but I won't get to the bottom of it. When he feels that he can tell me, he will naturally say it. Now that he isn't saying it, he must have his reasons. It doesn't matter, let's cook the rice first. And when it's time for him to give in, he will naturally obediently give in. As expected of Lu Fei, she used her experience in the business field to get along with people. And it's really useful, at least compared to others. Lu Fei saw the matters between men and women very thoroughly, and she thought very clearly in her heart. Her temperament was also far more vigorous than the average person, and she didn't care about trifles. Otherwise, she wouldn't have indulged Chen Guang so much in Xiangjiang. And it could even be said that she took the initiative to seduce Chen Guang. After entering the room, Lu Fei was not polite at all. Instead, she was like half a host, walking around very familiarly, pointing and talking. No matter how messy your clothes are, don't you think it's dirty? How long have you not swept the floor? Don't you find it hard to live alone? You look good outside, but your ability to take care of yourself at home, tsk tisk, it's really incurable. Chen Guang was sweating because of her words, and he didn't know how to answer her. In fact, Chen Guang was not stupid. She had returned to Wujing, but Lu Fei didn't go back to her home. She must have a plot. The robbers in the world either rob money or rape women. After thinking about it, she was much richer than him, so it was impossible to rob money. So she must want to rape him. To be honest, Chen Guang was also quite tempted, especially Lu Fei's graceful figure. No matter from which side, it was perfect and impeccable. She was used to wearing tight clothes, and her beautiful figure was completely exposed in front of Chen Guang. That straight and round, but was simply a gift from the Creator. Chen Guang looked at it twice, and felt that his saliva would flow down uncontrollably. From time to time, his mind would recall everything that happened with her in Xiangjiang. That incomparably tight elasticity, the delicate touch like silk when his palm touched her skin, and that night on the side of the Wujing Third Ring Road, when she was so tired that her mouth was unclear, and her blushing face was extremely bashful. What a deep memory! All of this was fiercely tugging at his heart. However, in life, there were always some things that had to be prioritized. After waiting bitterly for a long time, now that he finally had the opportunity to cultivate his inner strength, Chen Guang really didn't want to delay for a quarter of an hour. With his character, if he really made a move on Sister Lu Fei tonight, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to stop it until tomorrow morning. This was really difficult to make a choice. Where's the bathroom at home? I'm going to take a shower. I've been tired all day, and I'm all sweaty. Over there. Okay. Lu Fei responded, and then quietly walked to the side of the living room and closed the curtains tightly. She turned her head and blinked at Chen Guang, reminding him, "Don't open the curtains." Then she made a charming expression that said, "You know," and went straight to the bathroom while twisting her small waist. Usually she didn't walk like this. Now that she deliberately twisted her waist to highlight her advantage, the meaning was self-evident. However, she was different from other coquettish bitches. She was naturally beautiful. Ordinary people would feel very awkward and uncomfortable when they walked like a cat. But when she walked like this, not only did it not make people feel uncomfortable, but it also exuded an extremely strong feminine smell, causing Chen Guang to be stunned for a long time. Sigh. Chen Guang actually wanted to ask Lu Fei if she wanted him to bring her a new bath towel, and maybe a change of clothes or something. But on second thought, as a girl, how could she not think of these things? Since she didn't say it, then she must be planning to use his bath towel. Although this was a little exciting, it was not unacceptable. As for clothes, she had already drawn the curtains. Was there a need to say? She clearly didn't intend to wear it. Yes, that's right, she really wanted to eat me today. Chen Guang swallowed his saliva violently. So painful, so tangled. At this moment, he seemed to be standing at the corner of heaven. On one side was the inner strength that he yearned for, and on the other side was the fresh and tender body that he yearned for. Both sides were heaven, and both sides had a great attraction. Heavens! Earth! I'm clearly a pure and good young man. Why do I have to face such a difficult choice? So difficult, this is really very difficult. Chapter 822. On one side was the fish, and on the other side was the bear paw. He wanted both the fish and the bear paw, and he wanted to eat them right now. How hard was it to choose? At this moment, Chen Guang was suffering great torture. He approached the bathroom, where the sound of water was coming from, and his heart was racing. He took out the painting scroll from his bag, and he couldn't hold it. The back of his hand was meat, and both sides were meat, and they were all so tempting. Lu Mingguo's voice suddenly sounded in his heart. Stupid! Didn't you want to see Jean Pingmei? You can have your cake and eat it too. You can find Lu Fei to talk about life philosophy with you from poetry and songs. It seemed like Lioli was really going to carry out her big plan this time. So it was Lu Ming's turn to ridicule. Don't mess around, that was just a random thought. Who would be so stupid to watch Lu Bei learn inner strength? Besides, I'm such an upright person. I definitely won't have any feelings for Lu Bei. Lu Ming asked Lu Bei. Imperial Uncle Lu. Pornographic novels. You win. However, this divine emperor has something to say, but I don't know if I should say it. Chen Guang. Please say it quickly. This woman, Lu Fei's feelings for you are real. She wants to do something with you now because she believes in your title as the Dolua world's great magister. Now that you said you can't return to your hometown, she is worried that your heart will be empty, afraid that you will be sad. So she wants to comfort you and take the opportunity to establish her position in your heart. Chen Guang was stunned. Although he felt that Lu Ming's words were too low on Lu Fei, it seemed to make sense. A woman's heart was indeed unfathomable. The ones who understood women the most weren't men, but other women. Alright, if what you said is right, then what should I do now? You have to understand your own heart. Do you want to become stronger? Or do you want to satisfy your lower half? Don't make it sound so bad. I'm having a normal emotional exchange with my beloved sister Lu Fei. Pfft. Alright, becoming stronger or emotional exchange, which one is more tempting to you? You are the owner of the heavenly Holy Grail, a man who will rule over the 3,000 worlds in the future. If a man has power, what can't he have? Chen Guang. It sounds like you're going to persuade me to learn inner strength. I also want to become stronger, but how can I let down Sister Lu Fei's passion? I have to be a man. Poo. Then let me help you decide. What are you doing? Chen Guang exclaimed in his heart, but it was already too late. As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, his body stiffened. He felt a chill in his crotch, as though it was being blown by the wind. Sister Lioli doesn't have time to care about you right now. I'll do it. What did you do? You probably don't know. Although this flower is a latecomer, this flower has already partially fused with the Holy Grail. This flower can also send some godly power to you for free, allowing you to experience the special service of the God King. What special services? It's not difficult to make your pile driver run out of oil temporarily. What? Chen Guang cried out in shock. Then, he stuck his hand into his crotch, and his entire body felt terrible. To think that I, the dignified and strongest pile driver in history, could be said to be invincible, killing gods and Buddhas, had actually become a pile of mud. How can you do this? Stop struggling and go read. At least you'll be resting tonight. Lu Ming said sinisterly. Chen Guang secretly gritted his teeth. He used to think that Liu Li was the most unreasonable person in the world. But now he understood that it was because Lu Ming had been suppressed by Liu Li previously. Now that he had given her some space, she revealed her true nature and gave him a head-on blow. How cruel was that? Chen Guang felt wronged as he lit 7 candles and arranged them in a 7-star formation in the bedroom. Then, he turned his head and silently looked at the bathroom where Lu Fei was bathing. The sound of water was still there, but the boiling blood in his heart had already turned ice cold, along with the pile driver that had completely stopped working. Old man, I have the heart to kill the enemy, but I don't have the strength to reverse the situation. Beautiful Miss Lu Fei, I have continuously cast forbidden spells today, and my mental strength and mana have been greatly depleted. Previously, when I was outside, I had been forcing myself to not let people worry. But now, exhaustion is attacking from the depths of my soul like a tide. I have to meditate to recover my energy, and I must not be disturbed. After your bath, you should rest early. If there's anything else, we can talk tomorrow. The considerate Chen Guang also didn't want to hurt Lu Fei's heart, so he thought of an especially great excuse, and even borrowed a new term from magic fantasy novels that could scare people. Meditation. That's right. Just a little more than 100 degrees would be enough to know. Meditation was the standard for mages to train in seclusion in the novels. It was a very serious matter, and Lu Fei would definitely understand his difficulties. You're a considerate man. If it weren't for you, I would have been more considerate. Aren't I doing this for your own good? I really thank your whole family. As Chen Guang cursed, he sat down in the middle of the 7-star candle array, then took out his phone and searched for the Song of Morality. In the era of mobile reading, everyone could read wirelessly. Training inner strength also had to keep up with the times. Reading on the phone, everything could be found with one search, convenient and easy to use. No need to explain. You must remember to support the original version. Besides, he was about to enter the sect in 1 day and ascend to godhood in 6 days. Who would have the time to go to the bookstore to look for printed books? However, there was a discordant voice messing around in his heart. Where's the promised golden lotus? You're playing the golden lotus. Where's the promised bath and change of clothes? No time. I already told Sister Lu Fei that I wanted to meditate. Does your family's mages meditate while taking a bath? Then you should at least change your clothes. Haven't I already changed into my pajamas? I think it's better to wear a Taoist robe. Although the inner strength in this world isn't considered an inferior ability to this emperor, it represents a new realm for a brat like you. You can't take it lightly. So today's timing doesn't seem too coincidental. Why don't you let go of my pile driver first, and let me do Sister Lu Fei tonight? Then we'll plan properly tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll arrange for someone from Tianguang Brokerage to buy some precious ancient books. Then I'll take a bath and change of clothes, fast for a day, then come again. Save it. Aren't you just a man with sperm in your brain? Stop struggling, there's no chance. I'm not as easy to talk to as Sister Liu Li. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. Which eye of yours thinks Liu Li is easy to talk to? He looked at the time on his phone again. But it's only 10 o'clock now. It's not exactly midnight yet. Lu Minghua. That's not important. You start right now. Immediately. Immediately. I can't wait even a second. Don't force me to use my ultimate move, or I'll make sure you don't have oil for the rest of your life. Sigh, all right. Chen Guang lowered his head and looked down at his phone, resigned to his fate. The time wasn't right. Reading an article on his phone, not showering, and wearing pajamas. This was the state he was in when he was preparing to practice the painting manual to stimulate his inner strength. If one knew that Chen Guang was practicing the painting manual like this, She might be so angry that she would take the secret manual back. About 10 minutes later, Lu Fei walked out of the bathroom with a bath towel wrapped around her. She looked a little disappointed. She tiptoed to the door of Chen Guang's bedroom and listened carefully. She really didn't hear a single sound. She sighed and thought to herself that although she didn't know what was going on with the Grand Magister's meditation, seeing how serious he was, she really couldn't disturb him. Sigh. I thought this was a rare opportunity, but unfortunately he's tired. Forget it, another day. At this time, Chen Guang didn't know that Lu Fei had returned to the guest room with a slightly dejected expression. Instead, he was sweating profusely while reciting the Song of Righteousness in his heart. As a descendant of the Wen family, the Song of Righteousness was the most frequently used when practicing the painting manual. It was extraordinary. It was written by Wen Tianxiang in prison. The words were heroic and awe-inspiring. When one read it seriously, one's emotions would be substituted, and the righteousness in one's heart would naturally rise. For example, Wen, as a typical representative of those who relied on the Song of Righteousness to enter the Tao, although she was a woman, her actions revealed a heroic and manly aura. In private, Chen Guang even ridiculed her as a tomboy because she was too manly. Before he officially started to read it, Chen Guang felt that reading the Song of Righteousness would bring out the best in a man like him. It was like a hero with a sword, Lu Bu with a red rabbit, a perfect match. When he first started to concentrate, his nose smelled the faint smell of smoke from the burning candles. In front of him, he saw several flames tumbling and jumping in the darkness. The mysterious 7 stars formation even led the candles to move. The candles that were originally fixed on the ground seemed to have grown legs, circling around him. Chen Guang knew that this should be an illusion. This was the mystery of the 7 stars formation. It was precisely using the smell of incense from the candles and the mysterious wandering changes that made it easier for the cultivator's heart to sink at night. And it was easier for him to enter the artistic conception of the writing. Chen Guang's heart calmed down. He could almost recite the Song of Righteousness backwards, but he could not find the feeling of righteousness that arose spontaneously. He recognized every word. He understood the meaning of every line of the poem. He could also understand Wen Tianxiang's firm willpower when he wrote this 5-character ancient poem under that kind of circumstances. But his heart could not give birth to any feelings, and he could not put himself in the shoes of the poem. This made his heart hurt, and it made him understand a rather cruel fact. Old man, was not upright enough. Oh my, how is this possible? I will never admit it. I am such an upright person. You won't be able to find me even with a lantern. My sense of righteousness is so strong. I like to uphold justice. I see injustice on the road and pull out my sword to help. I risk my life to save people, although they are all beauties, but my heart is pure. But I was actually looked down upon by the Song of Righteousness. This is not scientific. Why not change to another book? Please accept the sincere suggestion from the dear Cry Deity Emperor. After all, I feel that the cheapness in your bones exceeds your righteousness. Really, righteousness cannot suppress evil. The dear Cry Deity Emperor muttered in his heart again. Chen Guang, impossible. I won't accept it. After another half an hour, he bit his lips, wishing he could look up to the sky and roar. Heavens! Earth! This is a misunderstanding. It's really just a misunderstanding. Don't quibble. Your heart will not lie. You really are not an upright person. Change to another book. I will change to the Book of Songs. After another 10 minutes, when he read the Book of Songs, Guanju Dove, in the continent of the river, a fair and graceful lady, a gentleman's desire, an image suddenly appeared in his mind. He was standing on a small boat, drifting along the riverside. In the distance, there was a woman in a long white dress, bending over the riverside to wash her clothes. The image in his mind became clearer and clearer. With an inexplicable thought, the small boat drifted with the current towards the washerwoman. As he got closer, he realized that the collar of the woman in white was slightly open, and the 2 half-breasts were faintly discernible as she washed her clothes. It was very alluring. Looking at her face again, it was a little strange. At first glance, it seemed to be misty, But when he concentrated, it looked like Lu Fei. His mind wandered a little. And when he looked again, it looked like Wenwen. And when he looked again, it became Zhu Jingxi. This woman's face was indescribable. It did not look like anyone, but it looked like everyone. Chen Guang squinted his eyes, wanting to see clearly, but his body suddenly trembled, and he recovered from the illusion. I really have to give it to you. A fair and graceful lady, a gentleman's desire. And you almost broke through the seal of my divine power. You are going against the heavens. Accept your fate. Truly, this is your true destiny. This is what is engraved in the depths of your soul. That's right, you were born wretched. Why do you have to be noble? Lu Ming was exposed by his words. When Chen Guang was distracted just now, the pile driver that ran out of oil almost started by itself. Chen Guang blushed slightly. I don't believe you. Let me try the Analects of Confucius again. Unfortunately, the words of Confucius could not bring him even the slightest feeling. He tried Yu Fei's Rivers Run Red failed. He tried Su Shi's Shuidiao Geta failed. Du Fu's Charcoal Cellar failed. Li Bai's Bringing in the Wine failed. He even tried Spring Snow in the Qin Garden, but it still failed. Unknowingly, with him dawdling like this, it was already past 12 o'clock, and the 7 candles were almost burnt out. Really look at Jean Pingmei. If you don't get the feeling after the 7 candles are burnt out, you will really be blind tonight. You only have 10 candles at home, and they are not sold outside at this time. Lu Ming reminded him very considerately. Chen Guang was silent, and his heart was desolate. Something must have gone wrong. I'll call Wenwen and ask. That's right, it's decided happily. That, Wenwen, what's going on? I tried Song of Morality, Analects of Confucius, Rivers Run Red, and so on, but it's not enough, and I can't get the feeling. On the other end of the phone, Wenwen was puzzled. You're going to practice the inner strength now? Stop fooling around. I've already finished practicing the first half of the painting volume. My body has reached the great perfection, and I've reached the standard of the second half, okay? How could Wenwen believe his boasting? Stop fooling around. Be good, listen to me. I'm not in a bad situation now. You don't have to rush to help me. Don't be greedy when practicing martial arts, especially when practicing inner strength. If your body isn't good enough, it's almost impossible to stimulate inner strength. Even if you have heaven-defying luck and can barely stimulate it, it's not necessarily a good thing. Your body can't withstand the impact of inner strength. And if you accidentally stimulate inner strength, what will you do if your muscles are torn apart? Chen Guang said, I understand the logic, but I can responsibly tell you that I've really completely met and even exceeded the requirements of the first half of the inner strength. Don't ask me how I did it. I can't explain it very clearly, but this is the truth. The candles are almost burnt out. Quickly give me some constructive suggestions. Wenwen knew his character. Although he usually liked to make jokes, when he was serious, he was very reliable, so she really believed him. She thought about it and said, why don't you try other essays? Because everyone's character and body are different from person to person. Although many of my ancestors and I rely on the Song of Righteousness to stimulate qi, there are also many people who use other essays, you know. Chen Guang sighed. Didn't I tell you just now? I've tried all the essays that were used by the ancestors recorded in the attached pages of the painting volume. I only felt something when I read the book of songs about a fair and virtuous lady and a gentleman's desire. On the other side, Wenwen was silent for a while. Her mind subconsciously recalled the bits and pieces since she met this guy, and faintly said, this is really in line with your character. Oh yes, I remembered a book, you can try it. Chen Guang was overjoyed. Calling her was indeed the right choice. What magical book? Jade Cattail Hassock. F***CK. Chapter 823. Chen Guang didn't argue with Wenwen for long, before he hurriedly hung up the phone. There weren't many candles left. Tonight, he had already coaxed Lu Fei to sleep alone. If he still couldn't get some feeling out of it, it would really be a double loss. Silently looking at the 3 big words Jean Pingmei on the phone, he moved his eyes away again and again. Although Wenwen's suggestion was more vigorous, he didn't want to admit that he was so cliché. The old man was a person with a goal and a realm. Even if he was reading erotic books to get the feeling, he had to read something a little more serious. That praying mat was so straightforward, so explosive, and had such a large scale. It should be severely criticized. How could it be used to practice martial arts? The old man was lecherous but not obscene, lecherous but not lascivious. Even if he was a thief, he had to be a refined thief. That's right, it was Xiaomei. He opened Jin Pingmei, and then quickly turned the page. He went straight to the exquisite description of the most intense battle between the Golden Lotus and official Shiman. It was really a fierce battle. The sky was dark, the moon and the sun were dim, the wind was blowing, the clouds were surging, and the earth was shaking. In short, the feeling was very strong. Under the pull of his subconscious and the 7-star candle array, he almost completely fell into it. However, after another 10 minutes, when he thought he had completely burst out of his emotions and was about to start activating his inner strength, something went wrong again. The tide-like feeling that he had accumulated with great difficulty suddenly faded away without warning. At this time, the candle had burned to the last half and could only last for about 10 minutes. Lu Ming, I think you're holding me back. You see, I'm already reading erotic books. Alright, I admit it. Compared to the Song of Righteousness, I'm indeed more suitable for erotic books. Then, shouldn't you let go of little Chen Guang? I was almost there and should have been breathing to activate the sense of qi. But after being pressured by you, my heart is like still water. Don't make me waste time. Lu Ming. This emperor is very happy that you can correctly recognize your own nature. But this matter really can't blame me. Although I'm suppressing your pile driver now, the reason is that you're not focused enough and excited enough. If you really meet the requirements of this painting scroll, the seal I placed on you will naturally be broken. Now that you are still lacking, it can only mean that Jin Pingmei is not powerful enough. When one understands you better, the book she recommended for you should be just right. Do you really have to rely on meaty futons? That's right. Chen Guang lowered his noble head. Tuanzi, so be it. Anyway, he had already given up. Something must have gone wrong with him, and he had chosen the wrong path. He wanted to be a righteous hero, but he was mercilessly labeled as a walking pile driver. He picked up the book, and with a resolute and stirring mood, he quickly flipped to the classic passage in the classic Jade Dumpling, and began to judge it with grief and indignation. Time passed quickly, and the candlelight swayed gently. There were fewer and fewer candles left, and they gradually showed signs of extinguishing. The light also became dimmer, but in the eyes of the righteous young man, Chen Guang, these hazy candlelight became brighter, as if they had turned into beautiful naked people. As the flames twisted, these little people also posed in all kinds of seductive poses. His breathing became heavier, and the little people in his eyes also became bigger. When he looked up, it seemed to be right in front of him, but when he reached out to grab it, it seemed to be far away. In fact, a normal erotic book should not have such an ability. With Chen Guang's willpower, if he had been prepared, he would not have fallen into it. But now, in order to practice the painting volume, not only did he let down his guard, but he also took the initiative to strengthen his comprehension in his mind and strengthen his artistic conception. With the support of the 7-star white wax array, the illusion became more and more violent. If it was a normal successor of the Wen family, he would have gradually entered the state of mind of the author of the Song of Righteousness, or Rivers Run Red, and a strong sense of justice would be born in his heart. He would feel injustice for the poor people, hate the heavens for being unfair, and shoulder justice with the world in his heart. But for Master Guang, who had entered the Tao by reading erotic books, he could only say no. This time, Lu Ming did not disturb Chen Guang, but secretly cheered him on. In fact, the little trick she used on Chen Guang with her divine power was more like setting a ruler for Chen Guang than suppressing him. The painting volume was profound to mortals, but in front of deity emperors like Lu Ming and Lu Li, there was no secret at all. With just a glance, they could completely see through its mysteries. The strength she used to suppress Chen Guang's pile driver was exactly the same as when Chen Guang's emotions were stimulated to the standard. When Chen Guang was completely immersed in the article, His invincible pile driver regained his freedom and raised his head to the sky. Finally, the last drop of wax was burned out of the 7 candles, and they suddenly went out. The lights in the room immediately dimmed. Chen Guang threw his phone on the bed beside him and slowly raised his head. His eyes actually glowed slightly in the dark night. Little Chen Guang, on the other hand, fiercely pushed his loose pajamas out of the tent. He succeeded but also failed. At this time, his mind could be said to be empty, without the slightest superfluous thought, except for love and lust. So far, the women who were not too ordinary with him appeared in his mind one after another like beautiful scenes in a kaleidoscope. They were all naked, twisting their graceful bodies and extremely charming. The Poor One family's painting volume, a good orthodox martial art, had actually been practiced by him to such an unorthodox way. In fact, this was also one of the reasons why the One family's painting volume was never circulated. Of course, not everyone in the One family was good, and not everyone was awe-inspiring and righteous. But with the family's bloodline, even if they had all kinds of distracting thoughts, they could still rely on the One family's bloodline to correct their behavior. Even if the Song of Righteousness was ineffective, the other articles chosen were mostly bold and unrestrained. And even if there was a deviation, at most it would be the Book of Songs and Songs of Chu, and it would not deviate to the side of erotic books. But Chen Guang was not a member of the One family, and his style was also very improper. And now there was a problem. Although he prided himself on being righteous and could control his actions most of the time, his bold and unconstrained mind always liked to let his wretchedness run wild in the wilderness of his mind, like a wild horse galloping unrestrainedly, advancing 1,000 miles in a day. Anyway, it was not against the law to think about it in the mind. It was not like I would lose a piece of flesh if I fantasized about it. I have used all my strength to barely be upright, and I can't be allowed to control my free and unrestrained thoughts. Anyway, no one else would know. Now, even if he deceived the world, he still could not deceive his own heart, and his true colors were revealed in front of the painting volume. Wen also did not expect this situation. When she first gave him the secret manual, it was because she felt that just the outer force alone would be enough for Chen Guang to spend more than 10 years. This secret manual was only a prop to attract him and divert his attention, so that he would not be hot-headed and want to get involved in his own Jianghu disputes all day long. Moreover, Chen Guang's age had long passed the best age for martial arts practitioners to shape their appearance, and the hope of him achieving anything was even slimmer. As for whether or not Chen Guang would be able to master it, and how long it would take for him to feel qi, Wen did not care at all. Even if you beat Wen to death, she would not have thought that this guy was the true son of destiny, and that he had the heavenly holy grail, which was a cheat, and could forcibly make the impossible possible for him. As for recommending Jade that praying mat to Chen Guang, she did not really believe it, because she understood Chen Guang, and knew that this kind of unconventional writing was suitable for him. Praying mat was considered an ancient book with some background, and it was definitely better than Young X Purity, Young X Guest, and Golden Scale, right? If he were to master those books, then it would really be the family's reputation and the family's misfortune. Recommending praying mat was just to avoid the worst outcome. All in all, with countless coincidences, Master Guang really succeeded in defying the natural order tonight. He started to build his physical body at the old age of 20, and in just a short 2 months, his physical body had reached perfection, which was far beyond the body quality required by the authentic painting volume. Now his physique index was off the charts. Using the Song of Morality as a standard, his comprehension was originally not enough, but after changing to an unorthodox path, he was able to kick an exquisite curveball, and his comprehension index broke through the sky. Less than 5 minutes after the white candle extinguished, a little mouse Qi was born in his dantian, and began to run rampant in his body, passing through all the veins in his body. Everywhere it went, his muscles trembled, and his veins expanded, as if there was a surge of heat. His nature-defying physique allowed him to completely break Wenwen's painting volume record of activating qi in the fastest time. Strictly speaking, It only took him 15 minutes. He succeeded on his first try, and it was extremely violent. If Wenwen was a genius that only appeared once in 100 years, then Master Guang was a godly talent that surpassed the ages and dazzled the contemporaries. However, Chen Guang did not feel happy at all, and he did not even realize that there was qi in his body that was flowing along the veins in the first stage of the painting volume. There was no other reason than that he was about to explode, and he was completely dumbfounded. If one often walks by the river, how can one's shoes not be wet? He was lazy, and stole a new realm, and used tricks to get the fake scripture. If one were to bring the martial arts of the evil sects to the Jianghu in ancient times, it would simply be a crime against the world, a treason. Even now, Lian Cheng was a member of the evil sections. The lascivious but not lascivious Master Guang had no choice but to lower his head to the true grievance he had been guided by the painting volume. Reason told him to be a righteous youth. However, reason was being rubbed against the ground by the kaleidoscope in his heart. This feeling was somewhat painful and torturous. He gritted his teeth. According to the painting volume, when activating qi, the cultivator would indeed be deeply affected because he would be completely immersed in the text. There was a possibility of some small problems happening if he entered the Tao with erotic books, but he was confident that he had seen all kinds of storms. At worst, he could just take a cold shower. However, he had neglected 2 points. First, most people who practiced the painting volume cultivated righteous qi, and no one had practiced with erotic books. No one had told him how to deal with such a situation. Second, he was not an ordinary man, but a walking cannon Chen Guang, who possessed a peerless artifact, the world's strongest pile driver. Heavy firepower was like a nuclear weapon. Once it was completely unsheathed, it would reveal its ferocious face. It was not something that could be suppressed easily. However, he still planned to rely on himself. That's right. I want to prove that the painting volume was wrong about me. Although my method of cultivation is wrong, I am definitely a righteous person. I will never lower my head to evil. Evil will never prevail over good. Waves of sky-devouring flames were born in the void, rushing straight to the top of his head. He could not help but let out a low howl. At this moment, Lu Minggua's extremely sinister voice suddenly rang out in his heart. Little brat, why do you have to make life difficult for yourself? I said before that you can have both fish and bear's paw. Think about the room next to yours. Don't you want to have Fei-Fei? Chen Guang groaned in pain and argued with Lu Minghua in his heart. No. Okay. I want to, but I have already asked Sister Lu Fei to go to sleep. Lu Minghua sneered even more sinisterly. But she has already heard your struggle and groan. She is about to knock on the door. What? As soon as Lu Minggua's voice fell, banging sounds came from Chen Guang's bedroom door. Outside, Lu Fei asked cautiously, Chen Guang? Grand Magister Right Chen? What's wrong with you? Are you okay? I heard you groaning in pain. Chen Guang's face stiffened. It's over. Opening the door, looking at Lu Fei who was only wrapped in a bath towel, he thought to himself, I am controlled by the devil to open the door. My hands and feet are completely out of my control. This is not my fault. In the next second, he supported the back of his neck with his right hand, leaned his elbow on the wall, and leaned his body at a 70-degree angle with the ground. His face bloomed with a bright smile like that of a grandmother wolf. Hey, dear Madam Lu Fei, I am indeed a little uncomfortable. My face and mouth are also controlled by the devil. Chapter 824. You've already eaten the bear paw, and the taste seems a little strong. Now you need to eat a fish to adjust the taste. Chen Guang, don't disappoint this empress. Sister Liuli and I both feel that you have too strong a human scent. You really should be more straightforward when doing things, have less scruples, and be more domineering. Chen Guang was still struggling in his heart as he muttered, You're sending me on a path of no return. Dirkrai chuckled. What nonsense are you spouting? Where's the truth? But the path is chosen by you. This empress only helped you make a small decision when you couldn't make up your mind. If you don't believe me, listen to what your mouth is saying outside. The real devil is you. Outside, Lu Fei walked into the room and looked at him worriedly. Not well. Where is it? Didn't you say you wanted to meditate? I just did a search, and it seems that meditation can't be disturbed. Even I don't dare to disturb you. Don't tell me you've gone berserk? Chen Guang frowned slightly, and an inexplicable melancholy bloomed on his face. It was as if Marlon Brando had become young again, and appeared in front of Lu Fei. He supported himself with one hand on the door frame, and slowly bent down, looking straight into her eyes. Beautiful Madame Lu Fei, Your Excellency's guess isn't too accurate. Magicians are different from the people who practice martial arts in this world. This can't be called berserk. It should be called magic power disorder. Ah, magic power disorder? It sounded very serious. Then, is there anything I can help you with? Lu Fei clenched her hands in front of her chest, making a heart shape. Her eyes were filled with stars, and she was electrified by Chen Guang. Although Chen Guang had never won with his looks, and the reason why Lu Fei had taken a liking to him had nothing to do with his self-proclaimed handsome face and nose. As the saying goes, Panin is in the eye of the beholder. In this situation, Lu Fei already had evil intentions in her heart, and coupled with Chen Guang's cheating acting skills, he was like a spark of lightning in Lu Fei's eyes. He was so handsome that he looked like a beam of light. Although women rarely chose men purely based on their appearance, who would mind if their sweetheart was a little more handsome? What's more, Chen Guang's handsomeness had reached a whole new level. I can't take it anymore, he's so handsome. I'm going to faint from his handsomeness. Why was it like this? My heart is beating so fast. I can't breathe. Who would have thought that I, the great Lu Fei, who prided myself on being knowledgeable, would actually have such a Mary Sue day? This is a stain on my life. But then again, was I blind in the past? Why didn't I notice his handsomeness earlier? Forget it, that's not important. What's important is that I was interested in him because of his talent. And now looking back, I didn't miss out on his handsomeness. I'm sick. My illness is called an incurable terminal illness that can't be cured by killing without love. Two voices rose and fell in his heart. One was him who was upright. The other was him who was a gentleman. In his heart, no one had the upper hand, but his body was completely gentlemanly. A gentleman was invincible. Lu Fei quietly reached out and closed the bedroom door, her back tightly pressed against the wall of the entrance. She was no longer afraid, but raised her eyes and looked straight into Chen Guang's eyes. No matter how this guy used his strong and overbearing aura to oppress her, she didn't move. Yes, that's right, I'm Lu Fei. I've never been afraid of anyone. This annoying guy, he really tortured me tonight. First, he left me hanging, then his magic power disorder. Such a big thing happened. His brain is almost out of order, but he's still bashful and unwilling to tell the truth. You only know how to make me fall here. You only know how to act cool, making my little heart beat so fast that it's about to have a heart attack. But you don't take the next step. Do you want to torture me to death? Do you think I haven't read novels or watched TV series? I don't know what magic power disorder is, but in my eyes, you're burning with desire. You need to balance yin and yang. You should be more straightforward. Be more straightforward. Pick me up and throw me on the bed. Sigh, you're really a little brother. You're really good at pretending to be experienced, but you're not straightforward at all. Fortunately, you met me, sister. I'll let you see what sister's real skills are. She smiled charmingly. Say it, how can I help you? Say it. Do you want to eat me? Chen Guang was caught off guard by Lu Fei's sudden counterattack, and his heart was already in complete despair. It seemed that Sister Lu Fei couldn't leave. He secretly swallowed his saliva, his Adam's apple moved, and he vaguely replied with a word. Yes. Lu Fei fiddled with her long hair again, gently pulled the bath towel a little, and slightly raised her eyebrows. If you eat me, it'll be fine? Chen Guang swallowed again. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore this time. Lu Fei suddenly pulled the bath towel away completely, and her beautiful figure was completely exposed in front of Chen Guang. She was still smiling. Then why don't you say thank you to me? Chen Guang's mind exploded with thousands of thunderbolts. Because of watching Jade Dumpling, the boundless flames that were aroused soared into the sky, completely burning every inch of space in his mind. He gritted his teeth. Thank you. Being hugged by Chen Guang by the waist, little by little approaching the bed, Lu Fei's heart was filled with lingering pride. Look at you, you still want to fight with your sister? With a little trick from me, you'll be exposed. Monkey son, how can you escape from this goddess's palm? But then again, the magic that he learned as a great magister didn't seem to be proper. Although he used to be lecherous, he had never been in a state of extreme loss of control like today. Today's change must be because of the magic disorder that he mentioned. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Otherwise, with this kid's bashful and indecisive temperament, God knows when he would reach this step. Just as she was thinking like this in her mind, her body was lightly empty. She was placed on the bed by Chen Guang, sprawled on her back. Her unspeakable posture made Lu Fei a little bashful, but she quickly calmed down again. With a blush, she looked at Chen Guang and said, "Then from today on, in addition to your identity as a great magister, I have another secret with you?" Chen Guang grunted, "Yes, Sister Lu Fei. Why don't you call me beautiful Ms. Lu Fei? I think you may prefer Chen Guang to write Chen. You're really sensitive and considerate little Chen Guang. You're right, a magician from another world is like Snow White's Prince Charming. But I still prefer that generation's god of speed, who moved my heart. Do you still remember what I said to you in Xiangjiang? I said, if you can do it, not only can you conquer the entire racing world, you can also conquer me. Now is the time. This is my reward for you for being late." Chen Guang was greatly moved in his heart. For a moment, he actually suppressed his soaring desire. He slowly sat on the edge of the bed and turned his head, not daring to look at Lu Fei. After a long while he said, "Sister Lu Fei, you're so good to me, Don't say thank you. You've just said it once. You know me, so there's no need to feel burdened. I, Lu Fei, always do what I say. Dragging it to this day is already my failure as a human. But don't think that I'm so easy to fool. What I want is not just today. Once you've boarded my boat, it won't be so easy to get off. There's still a long way to go. You can't always look at me with the mentality of who owes the other. You only need to know one thing. From the moment I sat in your car at Fengquan Mountain, my heart only beats for you. That's enough. Men and women don't know each other so much. It's fine as long as you're happy." As Lu Fei spoke, she turned over and pressed Chen Guang down on the bed. She leaned over and stared at him with a pair of beautiful eyes. Compared with other women, Lu Fei really had an extraordinary ability to enlighten people. If Jiang Yage had half of Lu Fei's eloquence, Chen Guang would have already been pressed to the ground by Jiang Yage. Chen Guang took a deep breath. "I understand. It's good that you understand. But you're sweating all over now. Go take a bath first." Finally, in the battle with him, Lu Fei completely gained the upper hand. She was extremely proud and ordered with the aura of a queen. She didn't want the most profound first impression of this guy to be the smell of sweat. She didn't think that this would be the last time she would be domineering tonight. When Chen Guang was taking a bath, she provoked the fire. 10 seconds later, she saw stars and rolled her eyes. She directly fainted in the bathroom. After half an hour she woke up. Poor Chen Guang was holding on with a red body and a painful face. Lu Fei knew that he was afraid that she couldn't hold on, so he forcefully endured the magic disorder and didn't want to torture himself anymore. How can I admit that I can only hold on for 10 seconds? I don't believe it. She turned over and fought again. 15 seconds dead. Another half an hour passed. She fought again and again. 20 seconds dead. Are you still human? I don't know how to explain it. You should control it a little. This is so difficult. I can't control it now. Could it be that my body is too weak? No, I'm too strong. Then didn't you laugh at me for being weak? Another half an hour passed. 30 seconds, still dead. I can't. Lu Fei felt that her brain was about to explode. She couldn't hold on anymore. She really couldn't. This was the first time. She had already gone all out and put her life on the line. But if this continued, she would probably be sent to the hospital tomorrow. But this guy didn't feel relieved. Instead, he was in more and more pain. Again. Not again. Chen Guang pushed her away in pain. You can't continue anymore. You will get hurt. What could be more tragic than this? He had a body full of amazing martial arts, and he had the strength to conquer thousands of soldiers. It was not easy for him to find a suit of beautiful armor that fit him, and he was just waiting to put it on and fight the enemy. Unfortunately, his martial arts was too high. The armor couldn't bear the old man's strength. But you haven't. It's okay. I'll go out and run a lap. You can't do this. It's not good for your body. Moreover, you have a special reason. I want to help you. I didn't expect that I'm so weak. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You can't just blow me up, right? It's not your fault. It's my own problem. What problem? To be honest, you can also see that my ability in this aspect is so strong that I'm afraid of myself. Lu Fei argued. So if it backfires, the consequences will be more serious. Chen Guang's temples were bulging. He was really in pain. I understand the reason, but you really can't hold on anymore. Even if you are willing to sacrifice your life to accompany me, you can't sacrifice yourself in vain. Wait a minute. I have an idea. Lu Fei suddenly clapped her hands. What? Chen Guang asked in confusion. Lu Fei sat up, lying on her stomach like a puppy. She turned around and looked back with an evil smile. There's another place. I shouldn't faint. Gulp. Chen Guang swallowed his saliva again. An hour later. Lu Fei. See, I'm not bragging, right? You've worked hard. You're welcome. Let me see. Don't move. It hurts. Chapter 8:25. The next morning. Well, Sister Lu Fei, I have to report to school today. I have a makeup exam in the morning. Chen Guang felt quite embarrassed. Logically speaking, he had tortured Lu Fei so miserably last night. Today should have been the day for them to continue to spread their feelings. However, he had directly missed many courses last semester. If he missed the makeup exam again, he would really have to take it again. With his current status, a mere bachelor's degree was really not worth mentioning. If he really wanted to be thick-skinned and think of a way to get a graduation certificate. In short, he just had to think of a way to get a graduation certificate without taking an exam. But he felt that there was something wrong with this. Even if this graduation certificate was not important, no matter how high his status was now, he really did not want his past 12 years of hard work to become a meaningless thing. If he really did such a thing and relied on power to get a graduation certificate that should not have belonged to him, then there would be no difference between him and people like Pan Jiang. It would also be a vote to deny the first half of his life, from his childhood to the present. Even if he knew that privilege seemed to be able to control these common and seemingly irresistible rules in life, and he had now become one of the top few privileged classes, he was really unwilling to really use the privilege in his hands to destroy the creed of life in the past 10 years. No matter what others thought of him, and no matter what other privileged classes thought of his life, Chen Guang felt that as a person, there were things he should do and things he should not do. In addition, didn't Xiao Linzi also cram for the Buddha's feet before the exam with him and others? Didn't he also cry like a ghost and howl like a wolf when he failed a course? Didn't he also secretly copy notes together during the exam? During the winter and summer holidays when he failed a course, didn't he watch others play games with tears in his eyes while he read textbooks? Xiao Linzi was born into the privileged class. He was one of the largest privileged classes in the country, but he forcibly lived as an ordinary person. This was not easy. It was easy to know but difficult to do, which was worthy of admiration. Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei knew each other well. He did not want Lin Jingwei to look down on him because of this. Apart from that, his parents, who knew which country they were currently traveling in, had warned him again and again before he left that he couldn't become famous. Although modern society was no longer a place where studying was the only thing that mattered, you had been working hard for more than 10 years and finally made it to your senior year. You were about to graduate. Don't pee on the bed at dawn and drop the ball at the critical moment. In a sense, his parents' views were still at the level of ordinary people. They didn't know that with Chen Guang's current power, it would be a trivial matter for him to get them a graduation certificate. However, the two elders had a good saying. Do you want to know what it's like to fight men alone? Want to know what mixed doubles taste like? Chen Guang expressed that he did not want to. He didn't want to experience mixed doubles. And he didn't want to be looked down upon by Lin Jingwei. What could he do? He still had to take the makeup exam. Lu Fei struggled to get up from the bed. She glared at him and said, "In your dreams. You have things to do, but I have things to do." Chen Guang said, "Huh?" Lu Fei stretched. "After you fell asleep last night, I called the investigation team in Wutua again. They have no idea what happened yesterday. In their memory, they inspected several mining areas in Wutua town according to the original plan. As for me, Director Liu, I said I had something urgent to do, and went straight back to Wujing." Chen Guang nodded. "Is that so?" He was not surprised. After the punishment world was shattered, the few of them returned to Wutua for a short rest. The streets were peaceful. People came and went, and the residents and tourists in the town were as usual. It was impossible to tell that this place had undergone a drastic change. Perhaps only the boss of the store that Chen Guang stole twice would feel that he had lost his clothes. As for everyone else, they weren't aware of it at all. The sun rose as usual, and there wasn't any difference between today and the past. Then I called my dad again, and he scolded me harshly. He asked me why I left halfway through the inspection, and where I went. Sure enough, it was as you said. He didn't remember that I had asked him for help. And then, what did you say to your dad? Nothing much. How could I tell him that I left my business behind and ran out to meet you? I could only joke around with him. But I bought a plane ticket this morning, and I have to rush back to Wutua at noon. Chen Guang was speechless. This but you. As he said that, he looked at Lu Fei's smooth and round, but with a meaningful look. Lu Fei blushed. What can I do? It's not that easy to be rich. How do you think my family got tens of billions of assets? Back then, my dad got into a car accident and broke a leg. The next day, he had to go to the conference room in a wheelchair to negotiate with people. Didn't that all come from him? What's with this little problem of mine? After saying that, she got up from the bed and prepared to put on her clothes. Ouch. She had just taken a step when she held her stomach with one hand and her butt with the other. She froze. Chen Guang supported her. Why don't you rest for a day? I'll come back after the makeup exam at noon. Lu Fei shook her head and continued to move forward. It's fine. I'll be fine after a few steps. Let me see. Oh my God. It's red and swollen. Which place are you talking about? 2. Are there any wounds? Are there any blood vessels? Nope. That's fine. The swelling will go down if I walk more. No, you really have to rest. Impossible. If I don't go to Wutua today, my dad will die of anger. Chen Guang found that he couldn't dissuade this workaholic. Looking at Lu Fei struggling to move around the room, curling up in front of the mirror to dress up, he thought of something. Why some rich people are getting richer, and some poor people are getting poorer and poorer. The poor feel that they are poor because society is wrong. It's the fault of the times. It's because the rich are born too well, and seize the resources that they should have. In the past, Chen Guang also believed in this theory. When he saw Lu Fei and Zhong Bai addicted to racing, he only thought of these people as ignorant and incompetent rich second generations, who only knew how to squander. But later, especially today, looking at such a stubborn Lu Fei, he probably understood something. Perhaps not every child of a rich family can be like Lu Fei, but it's not without reason that Lu Fei, the big sister in the circle of rich children in the 5 capitals, can get the support of everyone. At least the people who often hang out with her are not useless. As for Lu Fei herself, although she rarely bragged about what she did and what achievements she had, even managing a subsidiary company of Lu Chemical, and only losing 500 million a year, became a capital to brag about. But looking at her now, Chen Guang understood that it wasn't easy for her to manage this company. As the saying goes, men who work hard are especially handsome. In fact, women who work hard are also very handsome. Lu Fei simply tidied up. She usually didn't put on makeup, but her dark circles were a little heavy today, so she put on a little more eyeshadow. Sai, look at your waist, it's about to break when you walk. I really feel sorry for you. Chen Guang rubbed his hands. Sai, Sister Lu Fei, don't apologize to me. If you do this again, I'll really be angry. Okay, Let's go eat. Don't you look at your watch? The university exam is at 9 in the morning, right? It's almost 8:20. Chen Guang was about to help Lu Fei out of the room when the door suddenly opened. Looking up, it was Wu Miaowan. Wu Miaowan was holding a bowl of medicine in her hand, and there was a small ceramic tube in a plastic bag hanging from her wrist. A little Miaowan, this is. Wu Miaowan first closed the door, then chuckled. Come, chief magician, it's been hard on you. Then, she handed the bowl of medicine to Lu Fei. Sister Lu Fei, drink it while it's hot. Both Chen Guang and Lu Fei were still in a daze. Wu Miaowan took out the ceramic bottle from the plastic bag and opened the lid. A minty fragrance wafted into their nostrils. Sister Lu Fei, for external use. Use it now, immediately. I guarantee that your swelling and pain will be reduced in 2 to 3 hours. What's going on? Chen Guang was extremely puzzled. Wu Miaowan put everything down, then sat on the sofa and crossed her legs. You're still asking me? Last night, when I left with my sweetheart, the two of you were exchanging flirtatious glances. My sweetheart and I aren't blind. We could tell at a glance that something was up. And then my sweetheart and I were halfway through our work at the station when she sent me back. My little sweetheart said that our big chrysanthemum elder is an animal. He brought his own mortar. Even with her high level of kung fu, she almost died. Sister Lu Fei, although your body is considered tough among ordinary people, you definitely won't have a good time. My sweetheart, let me brew medicine for Sister Lu Fei. Isn't it useful now? I was in the room next door, but the two of you were so noisy that I was blushing. Chen Guang and Lu Fei. How *king embarrassing. Wu Miaowan saw the two of them fidgeting and chuckled. You two are still shy. What's our relationship? The three of us are the only team in this world that can prove Grand Magician Right Chen's identity. We share a big secret. We're on the same side. Unlike Lu Fei, Wu Miaowan seemed to care more about Chen Guang's identity as a Grand Magician. It seemed like her desire to learn magic hadn't died yet. Even though Chen Guang had hinted that his magic cultivation method wasn't too proper, not only did she not seem to mind, she even became more enthusiastic about it. Xianqin was really something. She was really meticulous. She had already considered this point in advance. Alright. I'll go back to the station first. My sweetheart can't handle it alone. With that, Wu Miaowan slipped away again, pretending that nothing had happened. Chen Guang and Lu Fei looked at each other for a few seconds. Lu Fei burst out laughing. Xianqin was right. You're full of love tribulations. In my opinion, Wu Miaowan won't be able to run away. Chen Guang quibbled. Are you kidding me? Little Miaowan and I are pure. We're just shallots mixed with tofu. You're pure now, but she won't be able to run later. You're not pure anymore. Sigh. What do you mean by sigh? You're still pretending to be innocent after getting what you want. Otherwise, why do you think Xianqin asked Wu Miaowan to come back instead of herself? That's because Wu Miaowan is the successor of Thousand Flower Valley. She's especially good at alchemy and medicine. Really? Chen Guang began to lose confidence. Maybe it's true? Actually, Xianqin and Lu Fei had thought this through very thoroughly. Just as Wu Miaowan said, the three of them knew the same big secret about Chen Guang. Apart from that, there was no point in hiding anything from Chen Guang. Instead, it would just create unnecessary ill feelings for no reason. It was better to take advantage of the perfect timing and make things clear from the beginning. You'll be taking the Modern Chemistry Basics 4, right? How's your revision going? You've had quite a fulfilling summer. Chen Guang's face paled. Modern Chemistry Basics 4? What was that? Why did it sound so familiar? He seemed to have heard someone mention it not long ago. But when he thought about it carefully, it seemed so far away. Don't talk to me. I want some time alone, and don't ask me who quiet is. Damn it. Completely. No. Review. I've forgotten. His lofty aspirations vanished in a puff of smoke in an instant. In his daze, he could vaguely see the familiar mix of a man and a woman dancing wildly in front of him like the stars in the sky. This time it was really a hard landing. Damn it. Chapter 826. Lioli, are you online? Not online. It's okay, I'll do it myself. Heavenly Holy Grail. Hurry up and give me a modern chemistry basic cup. What? I don't have enough faith points. Oh right, yesterday I gave the Holy Grail just the right amount of faith points. In order to fill that small pond, I squeezed it dry. Stiffly calculating the 400,000 points of faith in the Heavenly Holy Grail, Master Light felt that he really couldn't decide whether he should accept it or not. The beggar version's minimum requirement was 600,000. After a day, he had 400,000 faith points in his hands. He couldn't even reach the beggar version's standard, so he could only watch anxiously. Brother Guang, why are you in a daze? Your book is here. Bai Fan looked at Chen Guang's dazed expression and walked up to him like a ghost, waving his hand from time to time. Chen Guang came back to his senses. He was infuriated by Bai Fan's blind arrogance. He took the book from his hand and turned around. Shut up. My Weibo advertisement fee starts at 600,000, and there's no upper limit. Since you're my friend, I'll give you a 20% discount. It'll be 800,000 per advertisement. Now you owe me 6 million. Wait for my lawyer's letter. After speaking, Chen Guang turned around and left. Even though he knew he was joking, Bai Nyangzi wailed behind him. No, Brother Guang. I was wrong. Let's do it again sometime. As soon as he opened the door, Lin Jingwei and Xiong Jinke walked in from outside, talking and laughing. Xiao Linzi was even carrying the breakfast for Bai Fan. Brother Guang, are you going to make up for the exam? Come on, I have to say this modern chemistry basic 4 is really not easy. At the end of last term, we were passing notes around. There were a few questions that required Gaoya to pass the class monitor's answers back to us. We only managed to get some answer points, but we didn't get any process points. I don't know what kind of medicine the chemistry maniac took, but the questions he came up with are so difficult. Lin Jingwei stuffed the breakfast bag into Chen Guang's hand and said, By the way, have you had breakfast? Bai Fan snatched the bag from Lin Jingwei's hand. Stop fooling around. Didn't you see Brother Guang's greasy mouth? This is mine. On the other side, Xionger had already rummaged around in his backpack for a long time. He took out a few pieces of paper and handed them to Chen Guang. He spread out his hands and said in a low, muffled voice, Brother Guang, these are the pieces of paper we used for last semester's exam. Take them. Maybe the questions will be the same. Chen Guang was so angry that he almost laughed when he saw his third grandson's seemingly warm concern, but was actually secretly delighted. Go, go, go. Go to hell. Don't waste my time anymore. Grandpa, I'm going to take the exam. After cursing, Chen Guang turned around and left. Damn it. The so-called bad friends were referring to these 3 people. When one side was in trouble, all sides would like to praise them. Brother Guang, you have to work hard. All of our dormitory members passed last semester's exam. You are our only child. Don't ruin the golden body of our dormitory. Lin Jingwei waved his hand at the door of the dormitory. He looked like he was cheering him on, but in fact he was showing off his threat. Bai Fan added, I heard that if you don't fail a subject, you can participate in the excellent dormitory selection and get 2 months of electricity free. Xiong Jinke said again, I didn't even pass a subject. These 3 bastards, 2 months of electricity is nothing. At most, I will pay for it for you. The most hurtful thing was that Xionger said, I didn't even pass a subject. If I fail a subject, doesn't that mean I am worse than Xionger? How can I raise my head? You 3 bastards watch carefully. If I really die, I will hang myself on the southeast branch. I won't come back. I will commit suicide to apologize to the world. Okay, I promise I won't embarrass myself. After that, Chen Guang went downstairs. Bai Nyangzi and the other 2 looked at each other. Bai Fan said, Don't tell me we've gone too far? Xionger said, If I fail a subject, I will hang myself. If Brother Guang really dies like this, we will have committed a great sin. Lin Jingwei waved his hand carelessly. It's okay. Good people don't live long, but scourges live for thousands of years. For a disaster like Brother Guang, if he doesn't live for tens of thousands of years, his reputation will be ruined. Listening to you, it sounds like he is a scourge. Bai Nyangzi asked curiously. Lin Jingwei nodded and said meaningfully, in a sense, he is indeed a scourge. Bai Fan said, I will repeat what you said to Brother Guang, if he can still be shameless after the exam. Chen Guang jogged all the way to the first floor. Just when he was about to go upstairs, he saw Sun Xiaoxuan and Gao Ye looking around as if they were looking for someone. Who are you looking for? Maybe they were too focused on looking for Chen Guang, but they didn't notice Chen Guang even when he was behind them. Ah, are you trying to scare us? When did you sneak up here? Gao Ye shrieked and turned around to scream. Sun Xiaoxuan was like a thief, trying his best to make Gao Ye pee. Gao Ye quickly calmed down and pulled Chen Guang and Sun Xiaoxuan to a corner. These are GoPro glasses. Put them on first. I've already asked someone to modify the camera kit. It's embedded in the frame, so it won't be seen. Xiaoxuan, and I have already scouted the place. Later, your exam table will be near the window, and Xiaoxuan and I will be on the roof over there. The exam will be synchronized to our phones. Xiaoxuan will be in charge of answering the questions, and I'll be in charge of raising the bar. If there's one bar, I'll choose A. If there's 2 bars, I'll choose B, and so on. The multiple choice question is done. Gao Ye lowered her voice and said in a secretive tone. No wonder the two of them were acting like thieves. They wanted to help him cheat. Especially Sun Xiaoxuan, a beautiful South American girl, was forced to become a beautiful female cat burglar. Chen Guang was not making a random analogy. Sun Xiaoxuan's face was as red as a ripe peach. It was the first time in her life that she was going to participate in such a large-scale cheating operation. She was nervous. Chen Guang took the high-tech glasses and was speechless. It was one thing for Gao Ye to do such a thing, but Sun Xiaoxuan, an honest person, was also led astray. Look at how nervous she was. He asked, what about the fill-in-the-blank questions? How are we going to compete? Gao Ye was stunned for a moment. Then she glared at him. You wish. The multiple-choice questions are already 60 points. What fill-in-the-blank questions are you talking about? How am I supposed to compete? Chen Guang nodded. That's true. Gao Ye clapped her hands. All right then, let's get to work. I really don't know how you got so lucky that Xiaoxuan actually agreed to help you cheat. Sun Xiaoxuan's face turned even redder. This isn't Chen Guang's fault. He could have passed last semester, but because of this and that. Gao Ye interrupted him. All right. I didn't say anything wrong with your man. I know. Sun Xiaoxuan rubbed her hands and said with a trembling voice. Chen Guang saw that she was so stiff that she looked like she was about to explode. She looked like a statue that was about to shatter when she moved her hands. Are you really going to help me cheat like this? Without a doubt, it was not Sun Xiaoxuan's idea to cheat. It must have been Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye's idea. And then Gao Ye dragged Sun Xiaoxuan here. With Sun Xiaoxuan's personality, she would never have thought of doing something like this. Sai, look at her. Forget about helping me cheat. I'll be thankful if she doesn't get a heart attack later. She even helped me with the questions. It's really hard on her. Chen Guang stuffed the glasses into Gao Ye's hands and shook his head. Forget it. It's fine. I'll do it myself. How can I let the class monitor cheat for me? Gao Ye stared at him. You'll do it yourself? Can you do it? Sun Xiaoxuan said worriedly. Yeah, you won't have time to study this summer, right? You basically skipped all the classes last semester. Even if you did hug the Buddha's leg before the final exams, you'll still forget about it after the summer. Chen Guang smiled confidently. Of course it's fine. I'm a genius. Really? The two of them were doubtful. However, Chen Guang had already made up his mind. He turned around and went upstairs. His heart was bleeding. The straight-A student Sun Xiaoxuan was helping him cheat. This kind of thing was really tempting. However, Chen Guang did not want to be a stain on Sun Xiaoxuan's life because of him. If he was caught using high-tech glasses, it would be the same as substituting for an exam. Normal students would be expelled or given a major demerit. If it were him, he might be able to pretend that nothing had happened. However, it did not feel good. It was no different from getting in through the back door without taking the exam. The most important thing was that Sun Xiaoxuan was so nervous. Her brain must be spinning. She might not even be able to solve the questions as accurately as his dice. Don't torture her. What should I do? What's wrong with him? Isn't he always so frivolous? Why does he have to be so particular about cheating? Gaoya was a little unhappy. She felt that her good intentions were taken as malicious intent. Sun Xiaoxuan did not know what to say. Maybe he doesn't want to put me in a difficult position. Gaoya nodded. Yeah, that's possible. Sai Xiaoxuan, isn't it just cheating? You weren't even this nervous when you were a hostage in the US. Sun Xiaoxuan shook his head. It's different. It's really different. I don't know what's going on. Sai, look at you. Forget it. It's good that he's dead. You can give him another round of tutoring later. What? What else can he do? Look at him now. He's a senior, and he only has one chance next semester. How can he focus on studying? Who else can he count on? But he clearly looks very confident. He's faking it for you. You really believe him? Chen Guang did not know what people were talking about him behind his back. He was sitting by the window with a dark expression. Of course, he did not need to consider the consequences when he was bragging. But when he sat down and looked at the thick envelope in front of the invigilator, he felt dizzy. As the saying goes, a dead duck is reluctant to admit its mistake and suffer for its pride. This was generally referring to his current situation. Sigh. Chen Guang sighed. Even he himself did not think he could pass the exam, let alone Lin Jingwei and the rest. What was more annoying was that the invigilator knew him. Yo, brother all-rounder. Chen Guang? I heard you were a student in our school. I didn't believe it. I didn't expect it to be you. Hi, teacher. Can I get your autograph after the exam? Sure, no problem. Oh, right. I won't go easy on you just because you're a famous person. You know, famous people have their own public image. I believe in your ability. I'll take care of you during the exam today. Don't let me get hold of you. I've wanted to be famous for a long time. Thank you, teacher. The whole family. He did not say the last two words. F***ck. Luckily I didn't use the GoPro glasses. This guy is quite young. He definitely knows what he's doing. When the exam papers were handed out, he looked at the piles of formulas. His mind was completely muddled. Everything was low grade. Only the passing grade was high. This was difficult to complete. Oh right. According to the power of the 4 computers in the dormitory, how much would the electricity cost for 2 months? I might as well calculate this. He picked up the heavenly holy grail, which was wrapped in a new gangster rabbit mug, and took a sip of tea as he muttered in his heart. Beg me, I'll help you with the questions. At this time, Lu Mingwa started to cause trouble in his mind again. Stop messing around. It's annoying. I'm not messing around. I have a super good fighter here. She's sleeping now. If you beg me, I'll wake her up. Who? Super genius scholar Nicosia Tepster. This can be done. At this moment, Chen Guang's eyes lit up. I'm begging you, my beloved sister Lu Mingwa. In front of the passing grade, integrity and whatnot, just go with the wind. 30 seconds later. I just asked her. She said you have to beg her too. I'm begging her. Sister Nicosia. But Batk. F***ck. So fast. She didn't even look at the exam paper. This emperor is just randomly saying, don't take it seriously. F***ck. Dear sister Lu Mingwa, you really have a sense of humor. Chapter 827. For Nixie, this level of difficulty in modern chemistry wasn't a problem at all. After all, the Tepes family was famous for explosions and self-detonations. Although the people in this family majored in physics, their level of knowledge in chemistry wasn't bad. On the contrary, it was even higher than many people. It was just that the self-detonation family's achievements in other areas were too high, so their knowledge in chemistry was slightly overshadowed. A mere university course was just a trifle. Nixie was very unhappy. She felt that doing this kind of question was an insult to her intelligence. Furthermore, ever since he failed to kill Chen Guang, he became Chen Guang's accomplice after he self-detonated himself to kill Chen Guang. Thinking about it made her so angry. But there was nothing she could do. She had no choice but to lower her head when she was under someone else's roof. Not to mention, this wasn't just under someone else's roof. She had been dragged into some huge incident. There were two gods living in this guy's cup. As a mortal who had been dragged into this, she was trembling, all right? But this wasn't all bad news. Nixie knew that in a sense, she might have gotten a great bargain. No matter how long a mortal's lifespan was, they would eventually die of old age. But now that she seemed to be dead, it was possible for her to obtain eternal life. This was a great opportunity. This was the light of good luck that only the protagonists in novels had. Unfortunately, from what the two goddesses had said, it seemed that everyone's lives were tied to Chen Guang. If he died, everyone would die with him. Now that she had become his accomplice, she had no choice but to help him. She had to treat him like a treasure, afraid that he would melt in her mouth, afraid that she would lose him in her hands. Just like yesterday, in that unlucky town. In order to help him complete the mission, she had no choice but to fuse herself with the equipment and then self-detonate. It was really tiring. Alright, that could be considered an incredible event. After completing it, he felt a great sense of accomplishment. His understanding of divine power and dimensions had greatly deepened, and he had gained quite a lot. Although it was a little tiring, it was worth it. But today, the undying soul of the machinery hive mind, Nixie, was reduced to helping someone take a modern chemistry basic exam? This is ridiculous. But I just can't refuse. How infuriating. As for Chen Guang, in fact, Sun Xiaoxuan was cheating when he took the exam for Chen Guang. Nicole was also cheating when she took the exam for Chen Guang. There was no difference in essence. The only difference was that asking Sun Xiaoxuan for help would torture her and put her in danger. However, if Nicosia and the cup were to make a move, it would be impossible for her to see through him. The Holy Grail is mine. I am the master of this grail. Perhaps my soul has an indescribable relationship with this grail. In that case, can I treat the Holy Grail as a part of my body? Could the person in the cup be considered a part of the old man? Just like my fingers or toes. My fingers helped me with the exam. Does that count as cheating? Impossible. What the scholars did, what the lords of the 3,000 worlds did not count as cheating. It was necessary. Just like the ancient emperors. If they wanted to govern a country, they naturally could not do everything themselves. They had to learn to know the right people, and use their millions of people and court officials to help them solve their problems. Right now I am the emperor. Liuli and Lu Ming are my generals and prime minister respectively. As for Nicosia, she is the old man's vanguard general. Now, I will send her to help me lead the troops to behead this barbarian called modern chemistry for. The most despicable people are invincible. Lord Guang displayed this 6-syllable mantra to the fullest. The invigilator did as he said. He focused on the school's current celebrity, Chen Guang, and did not give him the slightest chance. From the moment the exam papers were handed out, he had been circling around Chen Guang the whole time, as if guarding against a thief. From time to time, he would even look out of his window. If Sun Xiaoxuan and Gao Yi did as they thought, they might really be caught red-handed by this dutiful invigilator. However, his view of Chen Guang quickly changed. This young man does not seem to be simple. Not only does he stir up trouble outside the school, but he also does not seem to fall behind in his studies. He actually lay on the exam paper the whole time, and did not even lift his head. In addition, this guy's mental arithmetic ability is too strong. There is not a single word on the draft paper in his hand. He only glanced at the questions, and then wrote down the answers. He also solved the questions so quickly that it made people's hair stand on end. He finished one question in 10 seconds. The young invigilator immediately looked at Chen Guang in a new light. He is indeed the all-rounder. I lost. Half an hour later, the time to hand in the exam paper arrived. Chen Guang stood up from his chair and hit the chin of the invigilator, who had been standing next to him and watching him skim the questions at lightning speed. Teacher, I'm handing in the paper. Huh, you're already done? The invigilator had not recovered from his daze. He rubbed his chin. Chen Guang handed the exam paper to him. Here, you're done. The invigilator opened his eyes wide and took a closer look. Sure enough, he found that the test paper was filled with a bunch of conversion formulas. At that moment, everyone else in the exam room had already turned to look at him. The invigilator did not pester him anymore. He took the paper and left. He is indeed the all-rounder. In the huge exam room, pairs of admiring eyes looked at Chen Guang. If he was really a shameless person like Qin Hui, he would probably accept these gazes calmly. However, old Master Guang still had his pride. Brothers and sisters, this time it really wasn't my doing. Don't worship me. The old man felt guilty. His roar in his heart was useless. No one could hear him. Instead, they worshipped him even more because of his humble and amiable expression. This made him feel a little awkward and out of place. Forget it. Let's get out of here. He shrunk his neck and quietly left. When he went downstairs, he found Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoye still waiting downstairs. Oh my God! Have you already given up and handed in your paper early? Gaoye didn't say anything nice when they met. Sun Xiaoxuan began to comfort him. It's okay. It's not your fault. You can just take it again next semester. But you still have 4 makeup exams after that. You have to work harder to study. I'll help you. Here's the makeup plan. Take a look. No, I've tried it. Chen Guang saw that Sun Xiaoxuan had really taken out the plan and quickly clarified. Originally, he wanted to strike while the iron was hot and practice the sense of inner strength that he had painstakingly grasped. If he really dragged Sun Xiaoxuan into some kind of revision plan, then wouldn't these past few days be a complete waste? Although studying with Sun Xiaoxuan was quite fun, the matter of the inner force martial artist was not over yet. If he didn't become stronger, what if those reckless guys came up with a plan to decapitate him? Who would he look for to reason with? After all, he was now in a high position. He was the current director of the Guangdong General Administration. He was someone who could command the country. He completely fit the criteria of the decapitation plan. To be honest, he was a little panicked. Chen Guang looked at the vague figures in the distant woods. They were probably the martial artists or secret agents sent by the general administration to protect him. There was no way to escape. But that was not enough. He didn't want to put his life in the hands of others. So he had to make himself stronger as fast as possible. He had to be strong enough that he wouldn't be afraid of threats. He had to be clear about his priorities. Passed. Sun Xiaoxuan and Gaoye's eyes widened. They thought there was something wrong with their ears. Chen Guang nodded. Yes, I passed. I wasn't bluffing. But it's only been half an hour. Gaoye yelled. Sun Xiaoxuan was also puzzled. He was considered fast at answering questions. But it took him 1.5 hours to finish last semester's final exam. However, Chen Guang was still resolute. I will definitely pass it. If I fail, I'll hang myself. When he called Lin Jingwei and the other 2 out for lunch, they all looked at him as if he was a lunatic. Chen Guang slammed the table and roared. Take this. The results will be out the day after tomorrow. If you don't believe me, you can see for yourself. Why would I brag about something like this? Lin Jingwei said. Brother Xiaobai has a friend who runs a counseling agency in Wujing. Brother Guang, why don't you come with me to take a look this afternoon? You're seriously ill. You've already anesthetized yourself to this extent. Bai Fan said. I have to go take a look. I heard that some people will keep reminding themselves that the things in their fantasies are real after receiving a huge blow. This is called self-anesthesia. If you anesthetize yourself too deeply, you'll start hallucinating. It's very scary. Xiong'er said. I used to be like this when I was young. I recovered after getting beaten up by my dad. Sun Xiaoxuan said. Don't scare people. Chen Guang won't do this. But there's no harm in taking a look. You won't lose anything anyway. If it's someone you know, he won't mind. Bam. Chen Guang slammed the table heavily. Why don't you believe me? Lin Jingwei also slammed the table. Brother Guang, we don't believe you. I know most of the things you've been busy with this summer. Who would believe that you have time to read books? The rest of them nodded. Gaoye suddenly leaned over and looked at Chen Guang as if he was a thief. Tell me, how much money are you going to pay the invigilators, the teachers who set the questions and mark the papers? Chen Guang was trembling with anger. You're all frogs in a well. You don't know your place. You're insulting my character. It was no wonder he was not angry. Although it was good that these guys were the engine, they were obviously holding him back when he wanted to practice his inner force. Humph. In the past, whenever I wanted to do something, there would always be people like you who looked down on me. But now, their faces have been smashed to pieces and are hanging on my wall of honor. I had thought that with so many painful lessons laid out in front of me, no one would dare to doubt my ability anymore. But I never thought that trouble would arise from within. You people who are on my side would actually doubt me? After his outburst, Chen Guang stared at them angrily and said loudly, "Come on. The next test is on the principles of chemical engineering, right?" Sun Xiaoxuan nodded. "That's right. It's the principles of chemical engineering." Obviously, she was very concerned about Chen Guang and knew his exam schedule by heart. As she spoke, she took out the Principles of Chemical Engineering textbook and revision questions from her bag and placed them on the table. She had prepared everything in advance. Gaoya rolled her eyes. Ever since this girl came back from the US, she had become more and more unrestrained. Great. Chen Guang grabbed the revision. Give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, the five of them looked at him as if he was a god. Yes, in these 10 minutes, he had finished the entire set of final exam questions at an incredible speed. And all of them were correct. Not a single question correct. Amazing. Amazing, my light. Brother Guang, you're amazing. You're invincible. This was from Bai Nyangzi, who had already kneeled down. How the hell did you do it? I don't believe it. I must be having a nightmare. This was from Lin Jingwei, who had begun to doubt his life. Beat me up, I'm sick again. This was from Xiong Er, who had a relapse of his old illness. Gaoya, you must have awakened your ability after being electrocuted by the magnetic storm infantry. Gaoya's perspective was a bit strange. Sun Xiaoxuan looked at Chen Guang with admiration. I knew you could do it. Chen Guang silently curled his lips. Well, now you completely believe in my ability. He had finally put on a show and shocked everyone, but deep down, he was not very happy. That's right. He had asked Nicosia to help him with the questions. Excessive posturing did indeed have repercussions, especially for someone like him who still had a conscience. The more people admired him because of this, the more upset he felt. But if he didn't do it, these annoying people would never stop. He was like a pig looking in the mirror, inside and out. He was not human. He was displeased, exceptionally displeased. He had caused his thoughts to be clouded by his own actions. Chen Guang silently looked up at the sky. Oh God, oh Earth. It's so hard to be a human. It's even harder to be a good person. I originally wanted to be a good person with a clear conscience. But you forced me to be the king of cheating, who deceives the world, to gain a reputation. Okay, if there's nothing else, let's go. Chen Guang waved his hand, ready to slip away. The admiring eyes of the crowd made him want to dodge. He had a guilty conscience. Wait, we calculated the credits yesterday and the day before yesterday. It seems that apart from the compulsory courses, everyone in the class has to make up another 20 credits from elective courses to successfully graduate. We've already made up most of the credits from last semester, so 2 more elective courses should be enough this semester. Brother Guang, you've basically been running the internet last year. You didn't even sign up for elective courses, and you're still short of 16 or 17 credits. What should we do? Lin Jingwei called out to him again. Chen Guang's mind spun. Indeed, Lin Jingwei had said that this matter could not be sloppy. However, he did not want to waste time on ordinary elective courses. He would still have to take exams when the time came, and it was quite annoying just thinking about it. You know my student website account, right? Help me sign up for a few courses. I've already filled up my schedule. Lin Jingwei asked. Which classes should I register for? Our top student, Brother Guang. Chen Guang's face turned slightly red at being called a top student. Although his eyes were full of admiration, he felt that he was being sarcastic. I don't want to deceive the world anymore. I want to be upright. His eyes turned, and inspiration burst forth. He actually thought of a brilliant idea. Help me sign up for minor foreign languages. Yes, that's right. No matter what the other elective courses were, They would definitely not understand if they had not taken them. However, there was one thing that he was truly talented in. The school also had them, and he would be invincible no matter where he went. 4,978 languages. The others were stunned. Lin Jingwei was puzzled. Minor foreign languages? As he was puzzled, he suddenly remembered that Chen Guang had disguised himself as Chen Yu at Bai Hua's Tianjin Energy Group headquarters to help Bai Hua translate Arabic. That seemed to be the case. Lin Jingwei said tentatively, "But just one Arabic isn't enough, right?" Chen Guang waved his hand nonchalantly. "It's fine. If Arabic isn't enough, help me sign up for German, French, Italian, Portuguese, Latin, Japanese, Russian, Korean. As long as it's available in our school, sign them up for me. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'm leaving. I'm busy." As he spoke, Chen Guang turned around and left, leaving Lin Jingwei, Sun Xiaoxuan, and the others to look at each other. After a long time, Gaoye gasped and complained, "F***CK. Is he going to sweep the foreign languages faculty? Could it be that he's interested in the girls from the foreign languages faculty?" Sun Xiaoxuan pushed her. "What nonsense are you talking about? He's not that kind of person." Chapter 828. Even Chen Guang himself didn't know what kind of person he was. Human nature was too complicated. If everyone could see themselves clearly, there wouldn't be so many people in this world who wanted to take medicine for regret, and everyone would be perfect. However, what Sun Xiaoxuan said was right. Chen Guang really didn't think about girls from a foreign language school at all. The reason was that he was already a clay bodhisattva crossing the river. Unknowingly, he had already owed a huge debt of love, so much that he couldn't pay it all off. Just thinking about it gave him a splitting headache. How could he have the courage to provoke more people? Being too charming didn't necessarily mean happiness. Behind happiness was happiness's troubles. In life, if one couldn't completely cut off all emotions and desires, if one wanted to live a human life, there would always be places where one couldn't control oneself. Even if Chen Guang's so-called being unable to control oneself was so enviable in the eyes of others, they would still feel that he was worse than a beast and didn't know how lucky he was. However, there was a good saying, "Only one knows whether it's hot or cold when drinking water." Bystanders would only feel envious when they saw these things, but he, who was really in the middle of it, felt endless happiness and troubles. He also blamed himself from time to time. "I clearly want to be a good person, but why do I always go crazy from time to time? When I'm normal, I'm so wise and farsighted. But why am I always controlled by the demons in my heart?" Maybe it was a coincidence of fate, or maybe it was the demons pulling him, or maybe it was because he really didn't have enough self-control. He originally didn't want to be like that, but now he really had the tendency to develop in the same direction as Brother Chung. He knew that this wasn't good, but he didn't seem to have a good way to face it. Liuli and Lu Ming always said that as the great master of the Holy Grail, he shouldn't be so hesitant and indecisive over such a small matter. He knew that the two goddesses' words were very reasonable, but he also knew that it was easier said than done. As for the demons that would often quietly appear in his heart and control his actions and brain, Chen Guang actually understood that these were all excuses for him to shirk responsibility. This so-called demon was actually the human scent on him. To put it bluntly, he was still a mortal. They were so outstanding, and they indulged him so much. They knew that he was hiding an unsettled heart, but they were willing to get close to him without asking for anything in return. Although Lu Li and Lu Ming said that I would become a true god sooner or later, I have always been a human, and I am also a human now. I'm just a mortal, I really can't resist it. This was really difficult. Sun Xiaoxuan, for example, had become bolder and more courageous after returning from the United States. Her words were also more obvious. How could Chen Guang not be tempted? He wasn't blind nor was he stupid. He was well aware of how good Sun Xiaoxuan was. However, he couldn't bear to seriously injure Sun Xiaoxuan. Moreover, with Sun Xiaoxuan's temperament, she wouldn't change her mind so easily even if she accepted her stubborn principles. Even if he pretended to be heartless and determined like those in the TV dramas, she might not really back down. It wasn't that easy to fool her. They hadn't just met each other today. They had been together for 3 years, so Sun Xiaoxuan knew him very well. However, he knew that he had to pay a price for being tempted. Especially last night, because he was practicing the painting scroll. He was both willing and unwilling, and took the initiative, and didn't take the initiative to torment Lu Fei for an entire night. Today, when he encountered Sun Xiaoxuan's sacrifice again, if he didn't have any psychological barriers, he wouldn't be called Chen Guang. He would have to change his name to Chen Shimi. Therefore, even though he knew that he might not be able to hide from these things forever, he still had to hide for as long as he could, right? Although an ugly daughter-in-law would have to meet her in-laws sooner or later, she could at least buy some time to learn makeup, right? Of course, as a somewhat heartless person, the biggest advantage was that when faced with an almost unsolvable problem, he simply didn't think about it anymore. Lu Li often said to him that whether it was to seek his own fortune, or that there would always be a way out when the time came, it was actually quite in line with his creed. For example, now that he had snuck home from school, the first thing he did was to focus on practicing the painting scroll. Oh right, just yesterday afternoon, the owners of the house that Lu Xiaoyang and Chen Guang were living in, as well as the house that Zhuo Jingxi had rented, had come to an agreement. These 2 houses were officially under Boss Guang's name, and he just had to make a trip to the real estate bureau to settle the paperwork in 2 days. Not only did they not bargain, but they also offered almost 100,000 more. But it didn't matter. Boss Guang said that any problem that could be solved with money was basically not a problem. Now his problem was that his mind was uneasy. He sat cross-legged on his bed, intending to calm his mind and focus, and rely on the mnemonic chant to cultivate the painting scroll in his mind. However, he couldn't calm his mind. He always pretended that there was something urgent, and it made him extremely uncomfortable. It was none other than the makeup exam. Speaking of which, it was strange that such a trifling matter like a makeup exam was really not worth mentioning to the current him. Even if they all died, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Moreover, he had Nikasi's secret help. Not only would he not die, he could even pass the exam easily. But when he thought of the admiration in the eyes of others, and the fact that he had cheated at the highest level in history, even if he had used all kinds of reasons to convince himself, he still felt a knot in his heart. Humans were such strange creatures. There would always be a little bit of morbid persistence, a little bit of awkwardness. When one's heart was at a dead end, this little bit of awkwardness would become a lingering obsession, repeatedly lingering in the depths of one's heart. It was impossible to get rid of, and it would get deeper and deeper, almost becoming a nightmare. Chen Guang knew that the situation wasn't good, and he had to find a way to control it, but he just couldn't do it. He got up from his bed and dug out the chemical engineering principle exercise book that he had forced into Sun Xiaoxuan's hands before he ran away. He then opened his QQ email to see that there was also a revision PowerPoint that Sun Xiaoxuan had dug out from his teacher last semester. The exam was tomorrow afternoon. According to his previous performance, if he worked hard from now until late at night, woke up at 6 in the morning, and worked until noon, he could really rely on his own ability to barely pass. Well, this really became a low grade, and only studying was high. Is there something wrong with me? I can't practice my internal force, but I'm full of energy reading these books that I know are mostly useless after graduating from college. Chen Guang complained about himself. In fact, he understood everything. Only in this way could his mind be clear. Only when his mind was clear could he do things. But time was tight, and he didn't have enough time. He really wanted to make a doppelganger for himself. One could read and revise, and the other could practice internal force. How nice would that be? Earth paste exploder. Earth elemental doppelganger. A clump of mud fell from his fingernails, about the size of a quarter of a grain of rice. Damn, I definitely won't admit that this is mud accumulated under my fingernails because I didn't wash my hands for a long time. Forget it, that's it. I'll study the principles of chemical engineering by myself first, and then I'll take the Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment exam the day after tomorrow. I'll get a beggar's version of the world in a cup custom training, so I don't need to study. Then I'll take the course in the morning the day after tomorrow. After I finish the Principles of Chemical Engineering exam tomorrow, I'll start to study. I'll study for 2 days, and then I'll use the world in a cup for the last one. In this way, the production of faith value and self-reliance just happened to be connected. Although life was a bit too full, there was no grudge in his heart, and he had a clear conscience. These days were a bit hard, but he had to live up to his own conscience. After all, he was the master of the 3,000 worlds, so he had to be the master of the world with knowledge. He couldn't be a hothead. It was a pity that the most recent world in a line of Sky Cup was the leg muscle group special training that he had enjoyed before. And the time interval was less than a month. The next world in a line of Sky Cup would have to wait about half a month. Otherwise, relying on the world in a line of Sky Cup alone, he should at least be able to integrate all the undergraduate courses together and become a real undergraduate student. Then, he wouldn't have so many strange problems. After arranging all the time plans in his mind, Chen Guang opened the book and began to study from the first chapter, according to the PowerPoint that Sun Xiaoxuan sent. It was time to show the ability of the king of last-minute sharpening his spear. Who would have thought that the most popular and influential person in the country, the director of the Guangdong General Administration, would stay at home and study his university courses? There were many things that he didn't expect. On the other side, Lin Jingwei's 3 grandsons were sitting in the dormitory, and in front of the 3 of them was Chen Guang's Student Information Network account. By Nyangzi, are we really going to report all of them to him? There are relatively few compulsory courses this semester, and most of them are free time. If we report all of them to him, he can just register for 8 foreign languages. But why do I always feel like this is like science fiction? Xiong I didn't know that our school's foreign languages department had such a crazy curriculum. What are they all about? Hindi, Slavic, Malay, Bengali. Oh my God. Lin Jingwei's brows were tightly knitted. This is a little troublesome. The languages that Brother Guang mentioned just now are considered common foreign languages. But look, German and Portuguese, and Italian and Korean all clash with his compulsory classes. What should we do? Bai Fan had a sinister smile on his face. Didn't he say that as long as it's in our school, we will report it to him? That means Malay is not a problem. If there's a time conflict for a common small language, let's just register for him a language that doesn't conflict. It's fine if it's a bit obscure. Anyway, he said it himself. Is he blaming us? You have to pay attention to his words just now and report everything to him, right? Lin Jingwei nodded. It seems like that's the only way. Bai Fan humphed. I'm just asking you, what's the impact? Xiong Brother Guang's pretentiousness is blinding me. The 3 of them had an inexplicable excitement on their faces as they began to select these minor language courses from Chen Guang's Student Information Network. Hindi, Malay, Bengali, those were all child's play. Celtic, Greek, Tocharian, and Manchu Tungusic followed. Finally, after selecting 8 foreign languages, Lin Jingwei clicked submit. He then clapped his hands and rubbed away the non-existent dust. Chapter 829. Xiong pinched his nose. Wait a minute. It seems like we're being a bit cheap. We picked all the rare languages for him. Actually, Japanese, Russian, and Spanish could have been chosen? Lin Jingwei said. I don't know why, but I feel like the sun is especially bright this afternoon. Bai Fan was already lying on the bed and stretching. Yo, what a coincidence. What are you 2 doing in front of the computer? That nap I just had was really good. Lin Jingwei said, cheap. Xiong said, be *starred. At this time in school, rumors about Chen Guang were spreading like wildfire. Fortunately, these were just rumors and not gossip. Did you hear? Chen Guang really came back to school to study. That can't be? I heard on the internet that Almighty Superman is our schoolmate. I didn't believe it. Besides, he's so famous and rich now. I heard that his movie will start filming soon. There's no need for him to come back to school to study, right? Isn't studying to earn money? He's a big man now, and he's the CEO of a company. He should just happily earn money. Whether or not he has a graduation certificate doesn't affect him at all, right? What do you know? That's why he's famous and successful in his career. A truly powerful person has to do his best in everything he does. Almighty Bro is the most handsome. He's responsible for everything he does. Look at your infatuated look. Wake up, you're a boy. Oh, that's true. Sigh. Actually, I haven't thought it through. With his current fame, he probably doesn't need to attend classes to get his graduation certificate. I don't know what he's thinking. This was a conversation between two freshmen. At noon, I saw Brother Allrounder at the walking street Maisie May. He's really our senior. Why don't you ask him for an autograph? I'm scared, I'm shy. You don't say. He's even more handsome in person than on TV. Oh right, he's grown hair again. Not just his head. He's so handsome. His hairstyle is the same as Rukawa Keeds. He doesn't know how to play basketball. That's because he doesn't have the mood to play. Think about it. Is there anything in this world that he doesn't know how to do? You're right. Sigh, it's just like the rumors say. There's a beautiful girl among the people who ate with him. She looked at him with eyes full of love. I don't think I have a chance. Sigh. This was the content of the conversation between the two freshman girls. It was the same for the others. However, it was a little strange. Although many people recognized Chun Guang from morning to noon, no one took the initiative to ask for his autograph. Perhaps it was because he had appeared in school for the first time in the new semester, and that he had grown a full head of hair from his bald head. Many people were a little uncertain, thinking that they might have mistaken him for someone else. In a trance, the reservation and confusion in their hearts caused these people to miss the opportunity. Of course, there was another problem. When it came to celebrities, if they were far away, people would worship them. However, if this celebrity was in the same school as them, went to school the same way, ate the same 3 meals a day, had a nose and eyes, and didn't have 3 heads and 6 arms, he would lose that mysterious feeling. Instead, people would feel that even if they missed him today, he would be there tomorrow anyway. He would be there for the entire semester, and wasn't in a hurry to meet him. As for Jin Shiyue and Jiang Ye's fans, they were now full of hatred for Chun Guang. However, they had no choice. He was no longer a nobody that could be bullied by others. It was fun to run to him and act cool, but they were afraid that he would bear a grudge against them. He could consign them to eternal damnation with just a flick of his finger. Chun Guang was no longer the ignorant person he was in the past. It was said that Zhuo Wei, who had come to pick a fight with him, was now in prison. He didn't know if prison food was good or not. Even if he was a fan, he would have to weigh his own worth. Not everyone was as stubborn as Chun Guang. For many people, power was enough to make them bow their heads. For even more people, power was enough to make them retreat. Therefore, due to various reasons mentioned above, although everyone in school knew that Chun Guang was back, and everyone was talking about him, at least he wasn't disturbed today. However, there might be a wave of autographs in a few days. This peaceful discussion was accompanied by a post on the Azure Starry Sky Forum, which was also Gokyo University's internal forum. It instantly exploded on the spot. A sudden clap of thunder broke the peace of the campus. Is it sensationalism or some ulterior motive? It was the most insane elective registration form in history. Regarding Chun Guang's elective course, 8 minor languages. Yuan Fong, what do you think? Mom said that the title should be long enough to attract attention. In this post, an insider took a screenshot of the registration form from the School of Foreign Languages. In this screenshot, it clearly showed the name list of students from other schools who had signed up for elective courses in the School of Foreign Languages this semester. From student number to name, from year of enrollment to original school, everything was there. It was obviously the internal information of the School of Foreign Languages. In this not long list, there was a person's name that stood out. It was not only because his name was Chun Guang, but also because his name and student number appeared in the list of 8 minor foreign languages. Although the first half of his student number and his original class were mosaic, the last 3 digits of his student number and student number were exactly the same. It clearly told all the onlookers that these 8 Chun Guangs were none other than the almighty Superman. the #1 online celebrity in Huaxia, produced and marketed by Gokyo University. The person who made this post was most likely a boy from the School of Foreign Languages. There was an old saying, "Don't let fertile water flow to outsiders." But now, Chen Guang wanted to throw a high-powered water pump into the pond of the School of Foreign Languages. This was intolerable. This guy was young and rich. He had money and power. The key was that he was really capable. His looks, well, it did not matter if he was handsome or not. Anyway, even Jin Shiyue was chasing after him. There must be a reason. This showed that this guy was really scary. So this matter had to be exposed and let people talk about it. He had to make people think that he had bad intentions. He had to unite all the boys in the School of Foreign Languages to boycott this guy. What a joke. 8 minor foreign languages, and all of them were very rare. Even if it was just basic knowledge training, it was not something that could be easily fooled. No one would believe that he had no ulterior motives when he signed up for the courses like this. In this world, there were people who knew dozens of foreign languages. Although it was rare, language experts who specialized in foreign languages, or some geniuses who were talented in languages, could do it. But it could not be you. Otherwise, the heavens would be too unfair. Besides, you were always messing around. Where did you get the energy to learn 8 foreign languages? I did not study much. Don't lie to me. What's more, I studied a lot. Now I was admitted to a university. This person's literary talent was not good. In the post he wrote, although he tried his best to exaggerate and write it as a crusade against Chen Guang, he did not write it in that way. However, this was not important. Everyone had their own judgment. He only needed to lay this matter out in front of everyone. The whole school was suddenly in an uproar. A celebrity stirred up trouble, and it was big trouble. Looking at the whole school history, no, even looking at the whole country, no one had ever signed up for 8 minor foreign languages as elective courses at one time. Either he signed up for fun, or he really signed up for the girls in the School of Foreign Languages. This was really shameful. Or, he really planned to use these minor foreign languages to earn credits. He planned to make sure that he did not fail the courses to earn credits. This was even more unforgivable. As for whether or not he really planned to learn these 8 minor languages well, no one dared to even think about it. Not to mention that everyone knew that he had to shoot women this semester. It was hard to say what other things he had to do. Even if he really put aside the things outside the school and stayed in the school wholeheartedly to read the books of sages, it was impossible for him to learn 8 foreign languages in a semester. If Chen Guang was just an ordinary student, this matter would probably be seen as a joke, and everyone would laugh it off. Maybe after he failed all the courses at the end of the semester, he would become a laughing stock again. However, he's different. He's Chen Guang, the hottest internet celebrity in China. He's also a top-tier content provider that has refreshed the viewership ratings multiple times. Not long ago, he even appeared on the news. He's the aviation hero that turned the tide, and he's also a top-tier player. During this period, all kinds of advertisements he had shot were all over the internet. Even when you took a taxi and opened the online app, you could see this guy's smiling face. My name is Chen Guang. I'm Almighty Superman. I'm waiting for you on the internet. So up until now, although he was not like other celebrities who were either singing, acting, or appearing on variety shows in terms of fame, he was at least at the top of the country's B list, an entertainment star who was close to the A list. Therefore, it did not matter how badly the post was written. As soon as it was posted, it quickly flooded the azure starry sky. The number of clicks and replies to the post kept increasing. Even many people who did not usually go to the school forum went to take a look out of curiosity. Those who had some thoughts left a comment and expressed their views. Sofa. I despise the person who only typed the word sofa snatch. The person who posted this is hiding his head but showing his tail. Even the account is a newly registered alternate account. The list he posted is also the school's internal list. He is vicious. Shifty eyes. Shameful. Anyway, no matter how you look at it, every time Almighty Bro did something in the past, many people thought he could not do it. But in the end he did it. In the past, I did not know he was our schoolmate. I admired him a lot. As for now, I don't think it's a big deal. Chen Guang was quite famous now. There were many people who disliked him, but there were also many fans. On the fourth floor, there was someone who spoke up for him. Of course, not all of them were good words. Chapter 830. Learning a foreign language is not the same as playing the piano, driving, shooting Dota, or throwing darts. You have to memorize it and master it. Besides, what were the 8 languages he had chosen? Tocharian, Tungusic, what the hell were they? Many of them are from different language families. You should at least report something close to them. Anyway, I think he's just joking. There must be something fishy about this. I took Malay as an elective this semester. I'm in the same class as him. Okay, I'll stop talking. I'm going to do my makeup. She looked like a cute girl at first glance. The Greek elective was just passing by. I have the same opinion as the one above. Let me put on some makeup to calm myself. By the way, does anyone want to play a small language speed pushing game with a Dota? My team ideas. This was another cute girl, a cute girl who played with Dota. It seemed that she was Chen Guang's hardcore fan. As a teacher of a small language, I'm very happy to see a celebrity student taking my course. I hope more people will take Celtic, as our country really needs this kind of small language translation talent. In addition, although I'm not an old pedant, I can clearly tell everyone here that I don't have a back door here. Even if it's Chen Guang, don't even think about getting away with it. I will treat everyone equally. Looking at the ID verification information of this reply, it was really a female teacher from the foreign language school. Unexpectedly, even a teacher was attracted. The teacher's personal reply verified the authenticity of this news. Teacher Lin, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it. Someone immediately replied to this young and beautiful female teacher. Teacher Lin replied, "Nothing, please go ahead." Teacher Lin, how do you go to the toilet without a back door? Teacher Lin, who was less than 30 years old, suddenly flushed with anger. Student, what's your student number? Come and talk to me about life. That. Just kidding, just kidding. Teacher Lin, don't be angry. Teacher Tang, who was sitting opposite Teacher Lin's desk and teaching Hindi, was sweating profusely. Looking at Teacher Lin's flushed face and gritted teeth, he secretly rejoiced that he had opened a SMUF account. Otherwise, he would be dead. The cute female students and beautiful teachers of the School of Foreign Languages all knew about this. And the 2 girls were so unreserved. You've gone too far. You're clearly rubbing salt in the wounds of us bachelors. Where are you going to put us single men who are waiting to be fed? You guys clearly know that Jean Shiriyue is chasing after him. Yet you still act like this. Could it be that this was really a sad era, where the winner takes all, and the loser has to rely on masturbation? At this moment, the boys in the school were even more furious. Apart from Chen Guang's fans, the other students were all hating him. Why the F*** king pretentious light? Shameless and omnipotent. Stealing my woman. You ruined my youth. You ruined my life. Although I admire him very much because of DL 199333, I can't stand it anymore this time. An angry male student majoring in Arabic strongly demands that Chen Guang be banned from taking the elective courses of the School of Foreign Languages. That's right, he's simply joking. He's humiliating us students majoring in minor languages. If he must be allowed to enroll in these elective courses, then I demand that the final exam papers be publicly marked. Make the results public. Boycott under-the-table manipulation. You want us to lose convincingly. The holy land of the school cannot be tarnished. Don't bring the things outside into the school. This is also what he has done before. I want a clean campus. Don't be a fly for personal gain. In this way, in less than 2 hours, the click rate of this post had exceeded 20,000, and the number of replies had shot up to 2,000, and it was still rising at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was important to note that the entire Wujing University had about 50 to 60,000 students. The Azure Starry Skies click-through rate was calculated every 6 hours for every IP address. 20,000 click-throughs meant that at least 10,000 people in the university had seen the news, and more than 1,000 people had posted and discussed it. Among these replies, About 20 to 30 were from the girls of the School of Foreign Languages, expressing their welcome to Chen Guang. Of course, not every girl was so polite. There were also some girls who clearly expressed their disgust, thinking that Chen Guang didn't know what to do now that he was famous, and that he was arrogant and looked down on others. What did these girls think Chen Guang thought of them as? Did he think that he could cast his net wide and catch a big fish just because he had money and some ability? Did he think that we would definitely throw ourselves at him just because he came? He should at least strike up a conversation with me before I would consider pursuing you. Don't think that I will take the initiative to attack you. Humph. There were also about 100 comments from the boys of the School of Foreign Languages, expressing their protest. About a dozen or so comments were from young teachers who were good at messing around in the forum, expressing their opinions on this matter. None of the teachers really thought that Chen Guang was here to learn anything. Without exception, these teachers all expressed that they would definitely not do anything shady. If Chen Guang really came, he would definitely be treated the same as the other students. At that time, we welcome everyone to supervise, and we will definitely give everyone a satisfactory explanation. As for the other 1,000 or so replies, about half of them were from onlookers, expressing their desire to watch the fun, and a quarter of them expressed their strong resistance, and a quarter of them were Chen Guang's fans, who believed that this time, just like in the past, he would make all those who doubted him shut up. In a sense, Gokyo University could already be regarded as the home base of the internet celebrity all-rounder brother. Almost half of the people on the forum were his fans, and no matter how bad it was, they were still biased towards him psychologically. If it were outside the school or somewhere else, the ratio of fans to haters would at most be 1 to 10. Looking at the already noisy Azure Star forum, the initiators, Lin Jingwei and the other two, were completely dumbfounded. They didn't expect that registering him for an elective course would cause such a big fuss. The guy who revealed the secret was really wicked, worrying about nothing. Although Brother Guang wasn't a decent person, he didn't even have the luck to enjoy the current resources. How could he have any designs on the girls of the School of Foreign Languages? We wouldn't believe it even if you told us. Forget it. Since things had already come to this, it didn't seem to be of any use cursing the informant in their hearts. In short, when this guy found out, wouldn't he fly into a rage and hang us on a tree to dry? Tonight's moon is really round. Lin Jingwei leaned against the dormitory window and looked up at the dark sky. The sky in Wujing almost never saw the moon all year round. Bai Nyangzi's hands were furiously typing on the keyboard, writing his toxic text for women. He subconsciously said, I wonder what Brother Guang is doing at this time. Xiong on the other hand, was fighting with someone on the school forum. Without thinking, he said, Brother Guang? Who's that? It sounds familiar. Do we know each other? Lin Jingwei, and Bai Nyangzi silently gave him a thumbs up. Xiong comprehension ability was getting better and better recently. The Brother Guang that the three of them were talking about didn't know what was going on in the school forum. He was now swimming in the sea of knowledge of principles of chemical engineering. In order to avoid being disturbed, he didn't log on to QQ, and he even turned off his phone. After 3 years of last-minute training, he had a wealth of experience in pre-war mobilization. He understood that if he didn't want to fail the exam, he must bring out 200% of his state the day before the exam. Maybe it was because he often learned skills in the world of cups and realized the philosophy of life. Or maybe it was because he had lived in the world of cups for too long. Or maybe it was because he had mastered the world-class acting skills through the world of acting. He had anesthetized himself into a genius with high IQ in the movies. Today, he was particularly efficient in reading, and his memory was slightly better than before. Although he didn't have a photographic memory, at least his learning ability was much better than when he was in the 3rd year of high school before the college entrance examination. He flipped the pages of the book, and the PowerPoint slides in front of the computer were flying page after page. If he could still study as efficiently as he did in the past, it would not be a problem for him to become the provincial top scorer. He originally planned to go to bed when he was tired, but he didn't expect that the sky would turn dark and then bright. In the blink of an eye, the sun shone through the window and scattered on the desk. His blood was still boiling, but his stomach was growling. He looked up and saw the sun slowly rising in the distance. Only then did Chen Guang recover from his shock. He had actually been reading since yesterday afternoon until now. How come I don't feel tired at all? Am I superhuman? He stood up and felt the rolling heat in his lower abdomen. Then he suddenly realized what was going on. So that was how it was. He was completely immersed in reading and doing questions. And the little mouse formed by the inner strength of the painting volume was actually swimming around in his body. Immersing oneself in something without distractions, in a sense, was in line with the importance of martial arts practitioners to get rid of distracting thoughts. It was just like the meditation of martial arts practitioners. The principle was different but the same. However, ordinary martial arts practitioners, including Wenwen, needed to meditate in seclusion during the early stages of practicing inner strength, because their meridians were closed and the channels were narrow. They needed to let the qi flow through their meridians bit by bit, widen their meridians and strengthen their qi. However, every inch of Chen Guang's body had been trained by the heavenly holy grail in the world in the cup, and had completely surpassed the limits of human body genetic evolution. Now his root bone could be said to be the best in history. The meridians in his body were naturally wide, and did not need to be expanded. Therefore, even if he was not meditating, and was just sitting on the stool, that wisp of qi would move on its own because of his meditation. Then, it could not be stopped and ran on the broad road. This was the real reason why others said that his root bone was nature-defying. It was not that he was not hungry at all. It was just that the qi of inner strength galloped through his meridians for the first time, bringing him an unprecedented sense of fullness, and numbing his hunger and fatigue. Of course, martial arts practitioners with inner strength did indeed have a stronger ability to resist fatigue and hunger. Other than that, although Chen Guang's body did not look overly strong, his strength and stamina far exceeded the level that his body size showed. Just like the day before yesterday in the punishment realm, when he flew from the 5 capitals to Wu Tua town, and then turned the tide in Wu Tua town. He almost did not sleep in between. He had endured it all, and did not feel any discomfort afterwards. Now that he had become a noble inner force practitioner, not sleeping for one night was a small problem for him. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.